he wasn't extroverted sometimes, he would listen and wonder, fantasize about people automatically. He tried to have solitude alone. People leave when they like to, can't rely on other people to be happy, fleeting smiles and chuckles in insecurity about stupid jokes. There is no certainty in persona for persons, in the flip side of fate. And there is so much time to gather brains, to analyze, create and create strength. Solitude in introspection, analysis or worst, sedating darkness. The darkness hummed of commitment and performance. He had waited for a good life, a history of bad mental health, and life kept unfair like sickness. With waiting things turned into solitude, working away with biceps curls clearing his mind, creative time, sketching, writing and reading. No one could distract him away from his growth. Easily dissuaded into his habit of feeling grey and dissociating, he had been grey lonely with life, not a brother to Fortuna the contemporary fairy or fate the arrogant and piercing. Not being connected as much as he would have liked, waiting for his time, moving to a new city just meant existing alone. He was a social whirlwind for new friends maybe, to be brotherly, drunk and silly, connecting with a martini, playing things out automatically in his mind, borderline social yet common as fantasizing. There is a point to the images and imaginary world between people. Uniting commonly was the population of lonely people, considering when will I find a partner, when will I find a partner again, where is my partner? People didn't understand his poetry really, his music was too niche and stereotyped maybe. Like not allowed to be quiet, to move in the wind he was like someone strange to analyze in the street, taking his hat off, his story was not told immediately. He stood out being tall, in awe people were they not a fan, he had a rumor of being good, or not wanted. Not in phase with people being threatened and kissing ass or playing weak when people wanted to. There is hypocrisy and stupid positions people could get for no reason thought James, so does everyone he didn't realize. Competence is a contemporary thing and people usually did another position, responsibility stupid if they didn't have a first one. Everyone sees how someone is terrible at a position, how they could it better, sometimes explaining very well. Things solve themselves sometimes, there's a pushing to being neutral then analyzing. He had a thick short feminist-looking haircut, he colored white or maybe blonde-black later in the book and had DEATH tattooed into his left knuckles and then again in WHITE on his medieval armor. He was a very muscular V-shaped gym human with 1.7 meters between shoulders and arms like trees. To lose yourself in aesthetics and ease of fantasy, perfection in growth always changing and a promise. Chiseled jawline, manly face in the Chad direction, square buttocks, striated upper legs, like feathers, like an anatomy chart, disproportional 3D delts. To have a aesthetic look, like body sculpturing is about you must have larger shoulders, work out all four heads, it is a weak adjustable muscle, the most injured at the gym, but to get 3D shoulders you can't just work out everything, you must work out the shoulders twice as much. The triceps was 2/3 of the arm, like a triceratops, it moved legendary while working, like Gritty. Thus like Kevin Levroni, he had legs for arms, through no peak biceps. Handsome everything, something to make the world's strongest men jealous, out of breath and constipated. There seems to be a certain wisdom, patience with the greatest strength genetics, or just giants, they can think strategically conquering society, mathematical. Having below 10% body fat can make you feel fatigue and brain fog, but James compensated by thinking he looked good. He had experience feeling like a V-shaped vertebra, a carbon-based spine thinking Reed, but he was reasonable, there was barely any time to contemplate in your ego, he reasoned with himself there is a competition of morals and just not squatting leg muscles, lingering for a second would not realizing yourself in greater minds, in productivity of golden and history of people somewhat caring. Looking into his mirror that didn't show enough of the body at any angle he found green eyes that looked blank, could have been the Sahara Desert, focused first then intelligent, a specimen, could make you think about an INTJ like Arnold Schwarzenegger and fell down the stairs backwards like he wasn't wearing a shirt, he missed the smart refrigerator. He had taught history in London for 3 years, he remembered having a genius lazy brain about his future until he was attracted by leisurely university history teaching with Greek philosophy. There was searching for his fitting potential a worrying, frustrating amount of time or until something was lazy enough. There were so many things he could do, anything his previous teachers had said, but when faced with the decision he didn't feel he had the right perspective or choosing demeanor, layers of perspectives for the right times he had, needless of action. Nothing was going to change, in history, was it? He was in a brutal band called Until the End, or next Sunday in a progressive metal band called Terribly Drawn Circles. He needed an outlet being creative thinking about songs and segments on automatic. They were working on the songs, I'm Going to Pull the Plug, When the Neighbors Wake Up, Life is Horrible and Then You Die by Mumsford Piano, and Funeral of Dorks. Rappers with dementia sounded good, but he couldn't do rap. You need more blast beats. Listening to their music was like brain surgery and a cat biting your toe at the same time, modern and niche like poetry aficionados wanting to go to a club or being raw food vegan. Not the progressive band. What was unusual with this backbone linebacker build or combination wasn't endurance or speed, but the clever mind indeed. Maybe one wouldn't expect him to be so smart, looking with jaws chiseling and eyes piercing. You put him into pressure, yet he powered through mind and philosophizing. Speaking and being a thinker first, a choice of perception, a surprising poetic giant, a deliberate cognizant, a nerdy 140 to 150 IQ. An average prog metal instrumentalist and viewer, listener. Being the smartest and brawniest was awesome, yet like hidden in hard to interpret. Obviously it felt like being kindly recognized and your best theoretical version today. He had joined Mensa and conveyed with these surprisingly social people and respected the weird. All through 150 he had messed up the questions and only barely made it 134 on the test. It was far to drive there and he was concerned with personal productivity, interrupting genius. He wanted to spend time getting smarter and stronger, capitalizing on the golden moment of clarity and productivity. If someone insults your triceps, you insult them intellectually. If someone insults your nerdy hobby, you energetically throw them out of the window into the garbage disposal, hairy legs sticking up. Sometimes he was a gentle, fascinated, patient, observing, uninteractive person, seems related to strength. Being fascinated by color combination moths, tear-jerking shimmering red dawns, women and the human condition. Some mistook it for complacency and insensitivity, showing nothing, but he could very actionable and emotional when it was finally time to act. The reservation and truth of the analyst. He had a conservative energy and reservation sometimes, but believed in left ideas, now being convinced by monologuing people, for big questions of freedom, equality, for the many, never having touched elitism. Maybe he showed a less conservative side when speaking, in the brilliance and tolerance of theory. He had a pet 1-meter deer, continental giant rabbit. These really exist. People have seen pictures, but there are also videos, that ate vegetables for him at 100 pounds a month, called Sigmund the Destroyer. He was the light brown happiness with the big ears, his feet echoed like drums, dormant speed and giant-sized dormant power, in many ways like a predator. He appreciated being fed these different vegetable shapes, stacked like vegetable cakes, and being seemingly safe, but what if someone brought a dog? They had before. He viewed in front of the very sunny hobby with enough creative things room and looked out through the satellite room, white gleaming with sunlight from 2 giant windows, high up like a cat. He liked looking at different people, recognizable cosmopolitan human world, and was happy until stimulation from something else was needed. As a rabbit, things had to be familiar, and thus he would show his cute sides, and flop being in the way. He was alert and cautious, easy to flight, but being 1.2 meters there was a fair amount of reasonably fair ground.
I think I could try to be a woman and be feminine and have this kind of look as enthralling for people and stuff. I'm so cemented in this, in admiring women, you know.
As a rabbit, things had to be familiar, and thus he would show his cute sides, and flop being in the way. He was alert and cautious, easy to flight, but being 1.2 meters there was a fair amount of reasonably fair ground. He knew he was a special kind of animal. Every animal was bewildered and curious. Yet it was natural to be a big rabbit. He would not hold excuses, not pretend, not consider it. He had his fears of being alone, fears that could be reasoned away, but sometimes they were piercing. He scared cats and dogs. He would just charge and they would fear into paving the way. A charging rabbit is fearsome. Kids hugged and loved Sigmund. He realized he is as big as them sometimes, but from a prowling perspective. James thought he was always angry eating. Obviously he communicated what he needed and would consciously change, when it was that time. He was friendly with his human that came and went. He seemed quite alright with water and food, hay, cozy places to sleep, maybe not designed for rabbits, he contemplated. You don't expect these things, the fundamentals, and he kept shuffling my poop pellets. Insane thoughts occurred to Sigmund as this happened, animalistic yet coercing. He thought he had good temper for food compared to other animals, being fine with the swaying of oaks and time of the wind. The smaller rabbits seemed stupid. He couldn't help it. A large body means a large brain, he thought instinctively. It all aligned with reality. They could be wild and separated by a fence. Really fun to meet rabbits alike. Surely he would meet someone like himself. He got nervous when he wasn't in the same room as James. He couldn't help it. The separation told him something of being small. He was a good person, or rabbit, doing as he is told. James didn't really notice he was compliant, shocked of instructions and fingers pointed. There is no point exercising, Sigmund thought. He got bored and tired quick, interested in the park foliage and contemporary safety. He communicated better with his mouth and licking, just like was a rabbit, just like there was strange alien-like purpose. But what purpose? What is there staying in here all the time? He wanted a beautiful garden, variety and tall grass. There was no second bunny, so his owner had to fill more awkward roles. He had an expensive apartment in London. All apartments in London are expensive. where everything was sleek, futuristic, black and white, artsy and claustrophobic. It was just 120 square meters, but he had fit in a lot of furniture. He was materialistic about his apartment, his TV, everything had to give an impression, of course, exhausting and a look into his mind. Artist on vacation, everything had a place. He used his considerable contemporary salary to buy living room set after fitting kitchen set. It made him feel personal. It's like the start of the Fight Club movie. He was good at memorizing parts of history. He counted like an informed punch, something too true. He was already ready to pay attention and categorize history, to point out a fifth detail too far. He had the complete history of the world series, memorized gistly in 15 books, but thought it didn't go deep enough. What was the point of the left revolutions of South America? That's more important. The cost of making sure no enemies rise, despite the system being broken, despite bleeding. Why did America stop every single one? Even if communism doesn't work out so well in practice insofar, what is the threat to capitalism and how costly did it need to be to defend this broken system? Turns out when you're a thinker you like getting to the bottom of why and how things work, fascinated and unrelenting, unwavering, as you need it, every thinker taking the same path, not noticing each other, proper and thorough in a world. Curious in a way doesn't always make sense and exhausting to exert and listen to, but to get things going sometimes you need to have an extra fire lit under you. The energy to keep unwavering, countering with a second truth. If you miss the chance to be thorough intellectually, you might miss the differentiating part. Every personality, maybe out of 16, has their own kind of introverted under fire, especially the introverts, and the time to fit the intensity. 95% of people are thinkers, we're not orangutans, unless differentiating personality types, thought James, mixing his protein powder with cocoa powder, blueberries, spirulina, algae and creatine in a white tank top. He was conscious of sulforaphane-like quantifiable health in a plant fiber and nuts-eating body. His supergenetics for strength gave him insight like a finger pointing inside, a feeling of the muscles of unevenness like balancing on a moving wheel. His mental health had set in his body, muscles for contemporary chiropractors and skewed growth, forcing her unbalanced hand-like trust into a lion. There was a mind for trajectory and flawless catching. The more he exercised, the more he noticed a Herculean endurance. Sometimes a golden consciousness of details told him, this is really not something other people do. So this is based on the averages of population, in my gym, city, of Englishmen, thought James. His power was dormant yet fluent, heavy repetition that felt proof and never really tiring because he was a mesomorph. Or was he? He could not really put a finger on it. Truth didn't really elude his mind. He was certain of pinnacle profoundness like philosophers. Maybe he wasn't supposed to be a beast, shoulders and everything. Maybe he wasn't supposed to be so smart. He defied nature and thought annoying for people in comfortable power. He defied God too really, so he thought, cheeky bloke, posh. He had gotten so far in his perpetual gym peddling, it turned into monotone conversations about blunt realization and discipline unuseful. The V-shape gleamed good in contrast to the white. The room was comfortably dimly lit and would tell him to sleep if he had listened deeper. Unexpectedly and tiresome, James pulled out a gun. If you threaten me, you will always think to rectify the situation, think diplomatically, you will come to compensate, think up new ideas, but smart boy, you will never be smart enough to figure it out. I wish there was a time where a bullet didn't win against every duel, thus and everything, the accuracy wins, I will win. There is no skill, no time to think. The cool things now is the size of the firearm and based on perceived results. I wish there was a time of plated knights, feudal samurai or limited weapons in mixed martial arts, foldable chairs, bows, another siege of Edinburgh Castle. The alien man dodged like morphing, swirling through a dash, cheating through the human technology. The alien took his wrist, coldly threatened, and he was indeed pulled through a cascade of time and colors, but it felt like his feet were still on the ground. He had been transported to medieval London 1,000 years ago. He was ostracized with a katana adachi and 18 bullets in a time of arbalist and warhammer, blood and ice, wine and piss. What could the value be of 18 one-shots like an electric wizard, 18 jewels of fate, 18 times to show off being from the future and convincing of the magic, like a prodigy? Chapter 2, Ass of Power and the Path of the Nerd. James really had a strong ass. It was a breathing living block. You could see it like anti-gravity. A few days later, a pleasant 2 weeks. Weeks of toiling through spiritual productivity, technically and intellectual performance. They were sitting in the university benches being considered with own theories and papers. What if there's another plane? What shall be our next plane? The planets are connected like cousins. Unless the dimension is flat and demanding. Everyone knows of the Coffee Bean Caribbean Islands, Grand Island Plain. Let's go, there are beans and legends. Caribbean on Earth is not discovered. The place is 50% oxygen compared to Earth's 20%. It will make for different species and generous ability, evolution. You will get used to it, it's not dangerous, makes the rum taste better, great sleep like waking up lucky, and with enough pressure to the chest the oxygen recovers the brain. True. You might just as well pressure with your arms pushing your chest. I say let's align with the French. There is strategy between every territory and they're all eager to have us. Fine, let's go through stormy lightning jetting night through the portal of dimensional greed. I will sell my service and competence like a new set contemporary. Legendary, ENTJ, Pirate Napoleon Rebluchon, not Bonaparte, was about productivity, excellence, productivity, efficiency and productivity. He had a plan for everything, but an INTJ would have had two, and when there wasn't action he thought of strategies. What is his purpose spiritually being so rare yet so focused on society and thoughtless work? Maybe it is not about work. Maybe it is the sensitive plan and determination behind society, a hidden angle. There was action about him, speaking so quickly and with such indignation to work. Maybe he'd be reincarnated as flashy Steve Jobs. Which is also an ENTJ actually, it's the past, but not while I'm writing this. He had dreams and career dreams, like a strategy but in a dreamlike state. This had some sensitivity, but the one to ruin their plans is usually their neurotic bad mental health, or likelier than tough words with toughness that's met like summoning a first layer of tolerance. Napoleon was a man that was as tough as it gets, like James. Let's see if they will argue about anything. A leader with a powerful arsenal of friends, he made friends with thinkers and was a self-improver compared to their super-efficient group counterpart, the boss or secretary personality. One letter difference, ESTJ. There are many differences, for example how they are when they are not whipping people into efficiency, Napoleon being too tough and showing no emotion, maybe, being abstract in intuition like something reached blindly in a dream, being kind of intuitive while showing no emotion. These personalities are both very sensitive like to their five senses, like reflexes, so much input for their brain and through people, all through being in their mind more, the world disappearing like distractions. ENTJ being vulnerable to cruel truths, cruel acts, feedback, recognition and acceptance, about his abilities perhaps and shifting cold speech. This is the very sensitive thinker perhaps, like sensitive senses, behind a tough group leading exterior, it's tough like impossible intelligence, fueling a retort, all business, no bullshit. Every thinker struggles with emotional expression, but this guy is really going to get slapped presumptuously. A thinker knows how to express emotions all the way until it stops in his mouth. In efficiency there is not always time for emotion, if everyone cared for you smallest details, but smothering details might just the right thing to do sometimes. But he was about group strategic productivity then business. He was a thinker businessman in this world, shrewd, accomplished in a world of strategy, a game where the others didn't even a foot in. And climbing ladders of capitalism that was like a quest of honor, statistically being happy and good at all sorts of work, lended like an efficient arm. This is not near the 1700s but at the 1000s newly discovered Chinese black powder for weapons. Medieval pirates. A remarkable aromatic burned Neapolitan. He had made coffee in the plain Caribbean Coffee Bean Islands. It was as pungent as perfume, but didn't taste like perfume. It fell short with milk through and the old ladies around the islands drank coffee quick. To drink coffee like water is being focused on logistics. It traded competitively around the islands, but people like Count, Viscount, the Count were ready to invade his vineyards. Stormy he had been stopped at the docks and 6 ships were broadsiding. In the dark bottom storage Napoleon found Viscount carrying off his produce. Like a sinner, but the kind of predator to not be startled while getting caught, but steal harder. En garde. Stop in the name of Caribbean Island coffee, still competition and force of Napoleon Rapier's contemporary. I got your product figured out. Viscount was known as a great sculptor, making 7 sculptures already of himself. You wouldn't destroy my produce, if you could never have it. Viscount's huge white ponytail like captain's hat looked aristocratic. He was the best dressed on the battlefield, and incredibly flamboyant. No I wouldn't, he raised his white gloves and 2 luxurious rapier. They fought with rapier cutlass, a new argument. Pirate Napoleon shot a grape shot big as a fist from his long musket. Viscount rolled like he was playing Dark Souls and Napoleon destroyed his own mahogany desk, embers flashing his beard. Viscount stabbed for his heart greedily twice, but was superiorly deflected. Viscount was fast and maybe weak. He would figure out that soon every thrust was piercingly deflected. Napoleon made a 6 slash on his chest, sacre blue candle ha. And Viscount disarmed through the pain, defeated. An irrefutable piercing point. He felt like he had never worked out, but I guess there was no armor. Upon the decks pirates fought without much clothes and armor, winning a battle that could determine the next. Viscount has been taken, yield unto us. Comically, a lot of pirates tried to calm each other into stopping fighting. It's over, stop fighting, Viscount has been defeated. As the pirate said this, shot a pirate in the face accidentally, looking at the crew. He opened his voice to speak, but instead caught a flying chicken in his mouth. It fluttered upset and confused. A pigeon took a shit on his shoulder like experimental painter. Your pirates are standing on a knife's edge. Edge of a knife. A pigeon took a shit on his shoulder. Explosive splat. Thank you, pigeons, can you aim better next time? Thus another pigeon shit on his next shoulder. I am beyond any pigeon shitting, he said bravely. They are nothing compared to me, I don't even see them. Napoleon shot Count through a cannon straight up. He looked like a smoked chicken leg and in pain. A golden fleeced, disproportionately 1 meter large legs and ears bunny came to Napoleon's side with pink shining antlers, Windlands the golden-footed. You can have the new vineyard. Fort and I almost drank these barrels of smoked habanero Henry Bourgeois, and these delicacy ribs made from half plants and magic, they have a bit back, I buy my release. Smoky blacked hair ruined Count Seth. Find your captain. In a culverin, Viscount was fired 30 meter into the sea painfully, and his crew ran like theater pals concerned with their leader. Shit. He's a pussy, but at least he cares about the environment. If I wasn't such a versed coward, I'd care more about him losing. It's great working for him. He is a sensitive coward, many books. I am efficient and I am enjoying the circumstances of work. The Coffee Bean Islands were like a huge island territory, flying migrating whales with ghost light green luminescent undersides, except for the northwest and a huge hole of water in the middle plus 4 islands. There were 7 territories, 8 colonies and 9 pirate factions fighting. Elves, France, England, Dwarf, Italy, Spain, China, with the 8th colony being barbarian and 9th pirate faction, the penniless corsairs. You were not allowed to eat the cows, sheep and even goats here, because they produced the cheese. The wine was warm, fruity and 50% like juice and was a place of nutty, chocolatey, creamy and bitter coffee. The sport was a deconstructed version of baseball with more interrupting contemporary rules and 16 bases with more dangerous, longer streckers, different balls and magic allowed in 5 instances that usually ended up with everyone drinking wine then fighting each other. This was a place where people drank more wine than beer, dark rum over spirits. Because of the wine culture, drinking lower percent wine was okay, like contemporary, everyone being pliant with the new reasonable. And for teenagers it was served in school, maximum 2 cups. Turns out alcohol makes you forget what you learn, oh well. Just like in France. Smoking wisdom stem, clarity leaf, Blackguard's bountiful cheeky retort and Cuban cigars was also legal at 16. A land a delicacy for some, a land of making money for those with taste buds. Everyone wanted the best, latest gourmand thing, ready to pay for it. There were breadsticks, chocolate chips and peanut hazelnut chocolate pizza. They had restaurants like Religious, kept up to 14 icons of chefs and maximum 14 rating, kept reviews, new cuisine, fusion cuisine. The food reviewers were cruel and feared, ready to be presumptuous. People cried at their qualms, ready to argue, accept or both. You had to be traditional or creative depending on the food critic, really. The latest places, some affordable once in a while, they blew romantic experiences together, a cute time, but they savored the food more. Fat people were held to different conversations. They knew how it was here. The chefs were supposed to be overweight. The chocolate was sacred, when you bought another 100 grams luxury piece for €7. They were complete covered in flowers and delicacy coffee roses. There were peanut butter, dark chocolate and raw chocolate except for the pistachios and diered berries giving the flavor. There were standards by Chocolate Committee guaranteeing 50% chocolate and ingredients. Must be quite enjoyable working there getting batter and shut up chocolate. The committee were tremendous in wanting change and talking about audacious rights, would have inspired Churchill. Olive oil and barbecue sauce was the religion, sacred, sold in artistic bottles, talked about like frail relatives, like dirty allowance. People sat outside the delicacy stores, having coffees to choose between, remarkable pricing per cup. Brutes and pirate magicians respected the old ladies drinking like experts, sharing in their ability to communicate, hold back things and speaking with manners, concerned with the world of old people. So much time we spend being old and without hair. Once you lose the top it's over. From 50 to 100 there is half a life being content being less competitive. And the more coffee the islands drank the older they got, spending quite a lot of time with white hair, through no one knew quite why they got old like elixirs and lactose. Inside the delicacy shops which were magical and sized like forgetting, the pirated lummoxed and considered price and value, duration and experience, some olive-fried Italian snacks could be eaten for 20 minutes, no one seemed to mind the Italians then, a golden air of tolerance like conversations about theatre. Of olive oil, balsamico and sauces, there were ancient-shaped supremely legendary priced bottles, like 100 or 500 quid. They were shaped like cauldrons and elixirs. People imagined the taste and would not be disappointed. Of course, some delicacy tastes are hidden like a fainting parrot, but when you go back to normal-priced rye snacks, it is weighed like piercing. Sometimes they were stolen, but were insured by the state. There had been quite a need for this change. In the quite lethal pirate book of handcrafted laws, there were the protection of the taste parched and correction of swaying drunk masters. Piracy was common as Saturdays or maybe Wednesdays. Everyone had practiced fencing, cannoneering or hired muscle. Anti-piracy politicians were not ambitious and usually took cigars from the side, but the golden age of coffee beans actually was not yet. They drank wine in the arguing lower rooms and smoked the cigars between savory lies. The pirates lathed treasure, robbed each other and glided free. They found hoards of treasure and gold to spend in French gilded ports, then competitively fought group to group, making territory. Offense was better than defense. Cigar smoking masters clasped their heads and they lost 2 territory for 3. It was possible that the most annoying defense, more defense than offense, was required, just large armies or majors, animals and ships. The 13 seas were unexplored. The free pirate ports were cozy, small countries luxurious, cheeky and with advanced offense, cannonballs and inventions, headed by pirate captains in shipwrecks. One devious plot was paying pirate ports to raid, let's say, Port Salut of its defenses, then you siege in and claim the port yourself. People changed ports often and nationalities. There goes the castle and its provincial yards again. Some pledged loyalty, some turned into mixes of flags, many tried their best. The French were very pleasant with their workers' laws. We see our hero James, after getting here, finding himself in a fine-ass establishment, small dancing room in the Royal Port Salut Ball. He had bribed the guard and smooth-talked himself into the privilege. The small orchestra was going crazy on classical music, speed and intensity technical to metal, wigs flailing. James was dancing like a god, tearing it up with his extreme sports designer wheelchair he did one-wheel wheelies and break dances with. Our boy could spin on his head, arms out, wheelchair balancing skewed on uneven legs. How did he do this? Although daughters, the governors were 50 and the daughters 30. People were only interested in the beautiful daughters. In the end, the posh contestants applauded each other, and the boy James grabbed the port's governor's daughter, huge bosom and slender waist, let her see the room upside down from his grip, then he kissed her passionately. These daughters could be beautiful like this, with hair up in knots, ginger, blonde and auburn. Thus he exited on his insane magical magical, black power engine wheelchair, steering with XXL arms and bloody veins popping. His arms looked like he raced wheelchairs. He asked the daughter shorter, humble, linear and contrite. She liked being taller for now, but could have enjoyed it more. Would you like to sit in my wheelchair? Dwarven technology this is. She sat like a rescued dame. They blazed off in the luxurious governing halls with pitiful pastel coloring, James flying up the walls and looping the ceiling, avoiding people in the way. This was a common tradition. You might have won my heart over dancing again, James. I think for you I have a look at these fine gifts. There are spare artsy parts like bonus quarterly wine. You are rich like doubt. 3 rapiers, stabbing weapons, with luxurious artsy guards, detailed like getting new glasses and correcting someone. I don't have a rapier, fine amethyst. You bought me an amethyst. Quite. James procured a ruby from his pocket with at least shades of pink. Join me, fair lady, for a wheelchair race, fishing of exotic laziness and rum drinking on a sunny beach. Like sinners are we, in lieu of toiling work and beautiful places forbidden. I love this amethyst, sure I'll go, yes it's with your Cuban friend. Our eyes love treasure as these ideas. Enter tropical fishing hut and beach, with Monsieur Mansion on the hill aft sunny vineyards. You know this James, the adventurer and collector of keys now. Said Napoleon. Quite a charming rogue, said daughter Vice, daughter of all actors the governor. I like it when he tries to be posh and luxurious. He has a lot of money, people say, he's an adventurer, successful one. Don't ruin it. Rev up, gentlemen. James and Olivia with one wheelchair each revved and revved. Eventually fire was starting to break at the bottom wheels. And they're off. Zoom, like greased lightning. James had such a lightning start, but somehow, Olivia is keeping up with him. He's gaining in insanely muscular strides. They pushed each other, wheelchair carnage. James hit the railings of the docks and glided until he had to jump a 2-meter gap down to the next railing. James tried his best, but heart-sinking, eventually Olivia rounded him. Finish around the beach. Well, Mr. Olivia was as muscular as steroids themselves, arms like a caricature.
Yeah, right. So I had this stupid story, right? The kind of humor, kind of person who I am is going to this streamer Nixo, and Harry Potter streamer, and he is like. We have these amazing intellectual conversations where he goes like, I go, "Oh, where are you from?" "I don't know," something like that, and my memory. I'll try to remember everything. I thought I did about this. Yeah, why don't I remember this? And he's like, "Oh, you're from Sweden, huh?" We talked about Sweden and Germany. It was very interesting, very nice conversation you can have sometimes. Those just interesting things, right? Where are you from? It can be interesting, and if they're being nice, it can also be very boring. Yeah, what you know about the country, it needs to be interesting, and you need to not just say a baguette, you know. And well, it was definitely a stupid conversation. And the next time, well, I follow up on that, you know. Yeah, are you sure you're from Germany? He said, "No, I don't really know actually." How can you know? Oh, I remember now. Well, he was like, "Where are you from?" And I said, "It can't be known." I said. And then the next time I was like, "Are you still from Germany?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm still." It's a stupid thing to say if you've been in someone's chat. "Are you still from Norway?" I have to think of something else. I just think of something new, don't I? Just think of something new.
Well, Mr. Olivia was as muscular as steroids themselves, arms like a caricature. Intelligently, Napoleon didn't mind saying, "So we are three thinkers here, everyone exceptional. I think together we'll be a proud coffee Gourmand
how
office."
can you be from Germany if you
Whatever
live in
thus.
Romania?
"So you don't mind working for me, French and coffee business, you will be my muscle, another territory gambit, fixer and mixer." Olivia spends all his free time mixturing with chemistry,
right
and I don't
now.
think he sees beyond his routines, a care beyond employment only when he really has to. Olivia didn't hear this like he was selectively deaf. Be careful of the somewhat greater jungle demon, they are green and black colored like vines. Yeah, they're pretty dangerous. There's also the really quite proper jungle demon. Really, they are part of a worshipping cult of God Engelbrecht. They guard entrantments to the dungeon of Mook, where pirates go to be squished. They are intelligent unless asked normal, chivalrous questions. Indeed. Oh dear. And on this French part of the island we have 6 meters brown jungle pumas called cappuccino macchiato. Don't pull them in the balls or the tail. They can also reverb fart and go 20 meters into the sky. "You're not a man unless you can pull a puma in the balls," said Olivia imposingly. "Shut up, muscle KNUT, said Napoleon.
I don't know what to do now.
"Where I come from, Cuba we say, not all that glitters is gold,
Yes,
not all pumas you can
banana.
pull balls down."
It's a lot of
"You're not
fucking
smart like this,
seeds.
it is borrowed words," said Napoleon.
Well,
"They
it's
think they're
pretty
such
good.
big kitties, I can beat a puma with my fists or maybe a staff. They just bite in the throat to suffocate, that's all they have with their big arms. Just protect yourself from the claws, wrestle with this fat cute cat. I'm surprised the cheetah doesn't just tackle its foe with its speed. Is there an animal like this? The rhino is weight plus force, but where I come from we realize the peregrine falcon
So
can reach
fucking
385
fun,
kilometers per hour.
trees.
You don't see the bird,
Yeah, level
you
per
just
tree,
see the
yeah.
seagull getting clapped. We have the jungle penguin, the Akron penguin. They're terrible at everything unless underwater. They're graceful swimmers. Some birds or mammals you wonder if they're just victims, a life of being a blob. They can be very good at reproduction. There are giant herbivores without defense and used to be giant sloths. Teach me the ways to make coffee, Napoleon. My mind has never been larger. So how much free coffee is in the deal? Honestly, I drink about 4 to 12 cups a day, he said, friendly, conveying secrets of competence and confidently. The cheapest stuff, Sunshine Raisin Meadows, you can have as much as you like. The Aroma coffee, maybe not. Can I try your best coffee? Aroma 1 and 2, no milk. That coffee has a punch of excellence yet strange lands.
Yeah, let's go there as well.
Strangest beans. I get it, milk ruins the antioxidants we figured in the future. He's kidding, right? No, we had a longevity thing, country by country already in our habits. No one would say no to drinking more coffee to get less cancer and heart disease, not British people. Black tea works too, almost as good as green, don't bind the antioxidants to the milk protein. Tea leaves are healthy enough diluted, or you can eat whole powder, matcha tea. Do you think it would sell, live longer, drink our luxurious coffee? James. Not bad, man. Well, we are trying to make our customers drink it black anyway. Be honest, right, drink it black, also associated with living years longer. Stop adding milk, who cares about the flavor, really snort.
Noah.
Great text. Years, just what I not know from your experience. More like 1 to 2 years. Green tea repairs DNA 2 telomeres. It's beans, coffee beans are antioxidants, the power of beans, you see these oak arms. James slapped his biceps. This is mostly made of beans, you know, chickpeas, lentils, vegan stuff. I made sure as long I have worked out, the muscle fiber came from vegetarian sources. I doesn't feel like I'm a step behind and muscle fibers forced to act and sacrifice youth, green muscle. Your vegan bodybuilding diet is so fucking funny, said Olivia. Beans, unable to contain himself, then he started on a wheezing laugh. He was confident in his old ways, ready to be very ambitious with this structure, gym ambition. Napoleon didn't lift heavy weight, but he could fence thus. Enter coffee and coffee chocolate with a different air, expectations of air and different thou. This is Aroma Napoleon, you know of our legacy. James, Olivia smelled and sipped intently. 5 seconds silence. Jesus Christ, that might be one of the best things I have ever drunk. So much aroma, so much flavor. The chocolate flavor comes for about a second and it's like something chocolate related I never tried. Chocolate beans. There is sweetness like plum or vanilla, gentle like sugar was not invented yet. I would be fine with this if there was no sugar. We have mocha coffee in my history, which is in the future, anyway, half hot chocolate, half coffee. Could change the coffee around there, it's a bit limited like a gourmand hot dog. People don't buy the expensive coffee, I can't figure it out. Olivia enjoyed it in silence and he wiggled it like tea. I'm used to this flavor now, Napoleon, Olivia said. Well, it is a bean, James. It's 30% Blue Mountain, the best and most expensive bean in the world, followed by chocolate Black Mountain, Gold Rush beans, something that grows here like a gold mine.
Baguette Rush beans.
I secured the land with a heavy investment. Thankfully I was the highest bidder, he said poshly. Power of beans. Power of beans, Napoleon went for a hillbilly impression. The chocolate they sold with the coffee was like melted chocolate rich for seconds and then nothing. This is our main seller, even if it's expensive, Aroma Napoleon. Yeah, this is supposed to be had black, I can tell, said James. This makes me feel acute and smarter, said Olivia, impossibly deep and impressionable. So it changes flavor what 4 to 5 times, I barely have patience for this. I sense dark and bitter transformations. I guess it could have even more expensive and luxurious punch. More of the same, also very aromatic 10 out of 10 coffee, the other was 9. I guess it has distinct transformations, said Olivia. He was pleased and pleasant. I am a bit stuck on how to change my product, unless we're talking about this smoky bourbon coffee. Change the beans, said James, out of 10 changes 1 will be good. To be honest, I'm not a very typical worker, I'm an abstract, improvising idea working worker. I would work the best in science, or constantly improving something like a rocket to space. The half of people who aren't planners are improvising through and adaptive. They do things and in random directions, maximizing their energy, spontaneity. Anything with moving arms can do this job, said Napoleon. Just do what I tell you to do. Interesting opinion. Everyone is spontaneous sometimes. I know a poison that would improve the flavor, Olivia said, suddenly detached and insane. Can you make it non-poisonous? Napoleon. No, the flavor is the poison. Okay, first we take a vacation, am I right? I have English colony Barbados rum, said Napoleon. Last time I was in English Barbados I was drunk for a month, cheap suzzled through. Stupid winds blew me to Point Pitta, Harridan, the flying axeman. Olivia. Wake up in a bathtub puking tequila and glitter. I heard vampires like drinking your blood if there's rum. James. With a linear brain, Olivia was insulted by this. He was however more concerned with laying on the beach and drinking rum. Onto a beach, next to the hut they tasted coffee. James shared the rough sunglasses he had made out of onyx and a spell and told them how to do Sudoku, 3 pretty difficult pieces he had made as a genius. They drank coffee and rum and spoke leisurely. Napoleon in many ways didn't seem relaxed. but in his mind he was focused. He did on
Using
performance
indefinite
constantly,
farming
speech,
here,
sell and
indefinite
unite,
sailing.
and now he did almost
And one
subconsciously.
level, we can go for
What do you
new
think about our
fucking
competition's coffee,
salvage.
Napoleon? I have read the same paragraph
We
5
talk
times
about
now.
a different
You're going to have to
game,
stop talking,
still
said
RuneScape,
Olivia.
right?
His newspaper was
It's
huge.
funny series, is good at some
We
stuff
have strong
that game
competition,
isn't.
James. They are brewing as per their
Play
traditions,
both.
technological, and they are clever.
Awesome.
Olivia, I got so drunk at one point and maybe
Yeah, you
mellow
gotta
I
do some
decided to
fucking
float on
sailing.
sea with a drink floating log, banished from
There's a
bars.
new skill.
I didn't care wherever I would float. I found a huge marooned island, lost on maps. You can try to leave, but there is an infinite amount of alcohol. Bottle and thus another bottle, masters of fencing, marooned.
Yeah,
I
want me
tried
to
strange
get a new
bottles
ship?
that were pushing in punishing
At 50
directions,
here I can
yet
do
very
that.
good. A mountain of ever finding treasure. They
Hey,
tasted
it's
like
got
in
a
a dream.
banana
They didn't feel
sapling.
disappearing like a spirit, yet I feel lost. I thought of you a foreman of hell. I have been in many places. When old I will tell I've had a life. How long were you there? There are many places off the maps, spirals reaching the sky. There is a place further up than heaven, on different clouds here. Mythical animals, stranger fruit, the potential of insanity and the end of time. I don't think anyone should feel grey, desolate like losing your grip, in dreams of despair, dark dreams of reality. It's not me that there's wrong with, it's the world. I cannot hold on forever, until fear becomes sedation in pain. James felt now Olivia was very
Ah, whatever. Let's just go to history. Nothing scary here I can show off. I can tell there's viruses on this side. I can feel it, you know, based on trackers. It's crazy, right? It kind of feels like I should pay attention to something, and it's also pointless to. Okay, got some profit here. 50% more EXP, 55. And let me guess. What? 2 salvaging hooks? I'll do that later some other time. You want me to change? It's not about the category, right? Just come on, don't report me about the category. Don't do it, don't send. Yeah, okay, where should we go here? What do you think? Let's go past the Conch Island, I guess.
James felt now Olivia was very relatable. He knew this world. Vice laid on top of James' chest small, feeling rich, fascinated and affectionate. She was a fan of James. Are you trying to get me drunk? She had to point out this exception automatically. I have never tried to get someone drunk, I think. Maybe who I'm trying to get drunk is myself. Then came the rabbits, Spartacus and the golden Napoleon pelt. The rabbits quickly realized they were rabbits and flopped on the beach, all exteriors
So
out,
far
as they do when
away.
feeling safe and happy. Spartacus had hints of jealousy of the golden fleece. The
Is
golden
that
rabbit is an
dragon's
angora.
long?
They don't mind being cut.
Yeah.
I made a small house and bed inside for the rabbit. For the bed he loves me.
Bank this.
Rabbits need friends. They light up with non-human company, like guinea pigs. Could use guinea pigs. I know guinea pigs, but we can only get 100 at a time. How am I supposed to afford another golden rabbit? Do you think the rabbit wants some coffee?
Yeah, 10 times
James
more people
presented
play
a mug.
Oscar RuneScape, most more
The
people
rabbit
do,
slurped
be
and
normal.
thought it was interesting. Strange human beverages. Are the humans all like this? A bit dark, could have been less acidic with the medium strength. He looked at
Oh,
Olivia,
so it's
then
not
went back
like
for
me to
more.
say those things,
The
actually.
rabbit is going back for more. That's good coffee in it, said James. Wow, I need some caffeine thus. I learned this fluffy and conditioning hairspell. That's why I have such perfect hair, said Vice looking like a croquembouche. Well kept up like that it looks almost like a perfect
in my
wig.
pants.
With pink bubbles and cream soon the rabbits were enjoying the wash. Floof, the royal pelt looked royal as Spartacus had prize-winning hair. The rabbit felt like zooming and included the other rabbit. Come here rabbit, said James to the golden fairly large 1 by 0.5 x 0.5 meter rabbit. I am also knowledgeable in geography, biology and politics. Vice. I know geography like the back of my hand. Antananarivo is the source of pineapples and Bandar Seri Begawan, the beginning of Bacardi Benders. The most northern
I thought it
capital
was
is
something crazy,
Ottawa and
but three
southern,
accounts at
cold
the same
too, thus
time.
Wellington. Driest desert is Atacama. Fortunately the price of water doesn't always go up so much
I
with the
can do it.
population living in the desert
gonna be
like
efficient.
lunatics. There are 3 types of deserts.
But
Governor
first it's
just
plot
wants
of
to wed me
banana
off,
seeds,
but I
guess,
think we're
yeah.
powerful enough, more like a regular wedding.
Plant the banana.
I am one of the geniuses of modern cosmopolitan London.
You really feel like you
How
want to
can
say
you be
it
a
like
genius
that,
of
don't you?
history? There is nothing to write. Rewriting. Winners of history. James, master of rewriting, said Olivia, read my collection. What if the British stopped being contemporary fools?
We have plenty of things
I don't
to
judge the
watch.
history, said James, going somewhere shaken, insecure. One of the secrets and weapons of hell was the living seed crystal, with time turned into a treant. Ancient treant Alucard Wilsall Thicket was a treant. He could make growth change season and wither bloom in seconds. You had to be clear. Alucard could be literal or philosophical
Walking
and was
Dead.
about beautiful action, not words. Humanoid tree form, faceless chiseled face, he grew a red beard in the summer that turned deep blue with impatience in autumn, with dryads renting room. His defense could not be tested. What do they pay with? Different acorns. I like planting trees. I have the patience to watch them grow. It was crazy Alucard could turn into a 50 by 50 meter wooden estate in 30 seconds. They used this when adventuring, gathering islands on the sea, and to sleep. I shall not lit a fire. You can lit my leftovers leaves related to summer on fire, He told them to be balanced with nature, to be sustainable with environments, to return and be one with it. You are not a machine ghost. A 70 times 30 meter ship as well with rosy flowers and huge thorns where need be. Exceptionally tanky over-offensive Alucard would outlive anyone 2,000 years, and was resistant against everything, even fire. This is not a $2 matchbox. Although the feeling he personally disliked being on fire like being wet. He was intelligent but more mystical and wise, concerned with balance of species to nature, fit well with James. Naturistic intelligence. He had healing wisps whispering peace and hopefully didn't get squished, you know. You're leaking. It's supposed to be like that, echoed his deep, more like hard-to-speak voice. A hint of humor was noticed afterwards. Folk that would usually like visiting Alucard were sprites, lightly dressed ocean blue and different shades of blinding pink, nature spirits related and allied to elves, defensive dryads again and confused druids. Alucard, a squirrel told me it is always safe gathering nuts for winter, he's got it figured out. He had spots on him for rosebushes and blueberries. Makes me smell nice as well, I make antioxidants against the sun and enzymes against bacteria. You humans eat this to be the healthiest. I wouldn't eat you. Not vegan enough answer. A ship Zerezetnut came around the rocks firing. Everyone seemed to have a wooden leg, maybe because the captain did. They won't like this molten giant bombard, they said, but as they fired, Alucard morphed into a tree ant form. He launched with his crew, grappling to the side. His strong arms broke the wood around their mast savagely, tilting it into the sea. A pirate twacked a rum bottle, Havana Club Q, and lit it intelligently on fire on his back. Alucard was deeply startled and pushed his right oak arm into his stomach, then expanded until he was a human mace. The human mace exploded into a cutlass person too, and the blood extinguished the fire. Alucard fought fiercely, a temper of the tree ants like certainty of the earth. They got hit like by trees falling over, houses collapsing, unsafe construction sites. They put a giant bombard against Alucard again, but James thought with arrogant fire magic to make it explode inside the barrel. The pirates exploded like vulnerable to explosives. James was cornering Captain Double Legs. He was a fat pirate with excellent defense, cutlass and black braided beard. He had one wooden leg.
Oh my god, it's so far
Captain
away.
Double Legs. James and Double Legs aimed and fired a black powder pistol at the same time. Double Legs had a stronger gun and it hit James sloppily in the shoulder, piercing his absolute defense. Skillfully, Double Legs shifted into a more defensively absolute unit. More black and his piercing thrusts would have gone through someone else's. He had threatening overhead slashes and at his feet. James caught his foot in a rope going upwards with the mast, but he cut it across. James had to really overpower him, and just as always a more skilled swordsman, he had to take things up a gear. James bellowed had ORSOF that knocked him back. He lost his cutlass, and flipped him about and cut through his pants in a 12-cut strike. He got a worse weapon instead and looked ready to defend his life. Begone ere our baguettes fly. Shiver me Italian whiskey. I can pierce any pirate's cutlass defense. You're in lethal range of my muskets. He raised his cutlass a final time, but James gathered piercing power and rail-gunned it. The explosion was like something unbelievable alien, and it changed the colors and hue. All right, we surrender. They were Italians from New Florence. Follow me to the cabin. A gold overflowing to the roof, well in just coin, rum and Italian whiskey. Walcher cabin. Every pirate who had fit into the room took a glass and sipped. They were considered now for this diplomacy, so related to necromancy. They were frisk and cheeky, yet considered with reaches of manner like one can have without being very intelligent, not for long anyway. Only a real ENTP gets annoyed at the lack of true diplomacy in debates or politics. You have a scraggly, dirty quartermaster. He is drunk asleep and yet insulting thus. Insulting a man's scraggly quartermaster is worse than insulting his ship. I see you have loot here from the French, should have banked. Spare us half the rum and whiskey and we'll give you the location of the treasure dead ivory. It's around here somewhere. I've seen it. You've seen the chest or all its marks. No, I think I've seen the horns of the demon. Everyone was taken aback yet solid in logic. We shall take the French cheese and coffee, said Napoleon Rebloshin. Smells like mimolette. Yeah, it does, said James. He ate a rectangle like chewing of carrot by a beaver. This is stupid. How do I steal against people now? Italian accent, I have got to make a living. He said it like they were unfair and versed in a logic to himself, pushing him to his limit yet pushing him for others. Yeah, you can forget stealing from the French now, said James, inspecting a wineglass robust. With the strongest muscle, I've beaten several dragons and raided Dragon's Nest. Dragon's Nest. The Italians in the room danced superstitiously and spit 3 times. There was spit everywhere. No grave but the sea. Harridan herring and toffee apes. Life is peachy and Scottish. Better to shit in the sink than sink in the shit. What? Under the seas no one wears hats. We need diplomacy between Italia and France now, or there shall be invasion. Invasion, proclaimed Double Legs. The islands were busy making the best coffee, some with the same price of produce, which is just capitalistic insanity, unless people weren't willing to pay. They had scientists and caffeine addicts analyze the perfect coffee. A broad area for research was crossbreeding beans, which James would now uptake. Cross beans, why not just mix them straight into coffee, James said. Another insight was any coffee tastes twice as good if you have drunk for 3 to 4 days. You're addicted. The flavor becomes exalting and golden. Let's breed some new flavors with genetics. Cheap and flavored filters he came up with, flavored coffee like with aromas he remembered from the future. He thought of inventing a coffee that tasted like a dessert, just the right coffee flavor, and you added sugar and cream. Now what would that be? Something already rich and fat, James decided. James introduced Napoleon to iced coffee or coffee with sugars or sweetness. He promised his people were completely addicted by this. Cold coffee is just dessert flavor orientation, Napoleon said. I feel like I'm mixing cake. We don't have to. It can just be bitter and fat flavors. Anyway, caramel can be combined with chocolate and dark coffee. I thought caramel for aristocrat kids. They might be good customers. Olivia and me are working on a special coffee oat milk frosted to -90°C. Will cool down the coffee with less, maximum coffee taste. I like my coffee mixed with milks until sweeter.
Never mind.
I like my coffee mixed with milks until sweeter. Strawberry raspberry chocolate coffee and chocolate and kiwis fruity coffee. What about ground salted pretzels? Make any shape you'd like, mate. James went water skating. It was a lot like ice skating. You moved the same over the water with pretty expensive, also magical, dwarven devices. When far enough in Les Saints Lagoon he could fish crabs and sea urchins. Sea urchins were always so upset when taken away or beaten, so confident in their defense, crunching with their white-like beaks. There are like lawnmowers against starfish and plants under the sea. Here infestations unbalance the equation. He met a meter-long surface anglerfish, red, white and green eyes, so ugly like it had its face punched in. It was cool though and let him pick urchins. James enjoyed the heat swimming slowly in the crystal clear water and saw their holy coral reefs, not damaged yet. Later in the day after Olivia's spicy crab sushi, James went for pirate revolver duels, a gambling western-like game. Two pirates enter in a downed wooden arena, the one that pulls and shoots his revolver first and hits heart or head wins. The bullets are seafoam rubber. James practiced and practiced, had lightning skills. He usually won because of his cat-like reflexes, but people here at Surly Boots Pharmacy Gambling and Accounting didn't have normal reflexes. He confided in the shipwright, heard rumors from the barman and got slapped by a servitor. He got a drink reliable and made for him for free. He met Captain Forehead. There are ships that insists on faring these waters, cognac cogs of contemporary coin. The British are barely pirates in their presumptuousness. The profit must be worth it. They are like frog eggs being eaten by lobsters. You must take their alcohol, spiffing. The trick is to convert their redcoats with terrible conditions and flagging for every vocacious flaunt. He had 3 eye patches with his 4 eyes, and being half runic Harridan, the merchant and banker race, he had blue horns. He was as beefy as James, yet more compact and connected. His forehead looked like a brick was protruding. Your forehead isn't just for show, is it natural? I don't know. Harridans black out easily from alcohol. Makes me ram heads like a genius. So you guys don't drink too much. What do you mean? There was a loss, broken communication and realigning considered after some time. Are you a captain? My gang, the drowned pirates, are hearty and true saltwater sweating deck apes. I would go with them into an endless journey of lucrativeness. Maybe you shall. Yes, my forehead is natural. This is not the first person you asked it, is it? The English are reinforcing their redcoats, armoring their ships like they're going to break ice. It might not actually be worth it to broadside or sink ships. What are your cannon costs? You must board and make them surrender quickly. Wipe the deck with superior brawling. I shall tie them to the mast and surrender their colors, to sell a ship unhurt to shipwrights in a pirate port. To shoot the cannons yet not hurt the design. Maybe just disarm their cannons with magic or shoot them in the barrel. Could use culverins for that, couldn't you? They don't do any damage, do they? You have room on your ships for a few extra cannons. There are falconets on my ship, horse artillery, French heavy cannons not designed unless for a siege. Where are the horses from your horse artillery? He didn't answer him annoyingly, but instead said, I want to find the 4 treasures in the giant temple dungeons of the natives. Their rum is fair and lucrative. To make an entire island system French from the barbarian, make myself governor and surround myself with the most excellent harridans. I don't feel true allegiance to the French being a personality of the sidelines. I mean, I am conscious of it, yet make a decision to remain on the sidelines every conversation. It is succulent subconscious. I am an NTP pirate too. I went to the personality seer. She is never wrong, just concerned with your role in obedient society. She told what cement mixer I am too. I think she might be sponsored. The sidelines are intellectual and the dreams intellectually ambitious. I feel so free in the emotions of my dreams, a reality true and pure to motivate me on my quests. The best seer in Einhanger is sponsored, so I've heard. You can differentiate the part as the sponsored, right? Your quests to brawl in every French bar. How's that going, mate? I had to pay to fix the carnival bar. Doesn't matter. I was ready to goon being versed in slapping grins like someone stupid. You're a brute and stupid in philosophy. Really? I am stupid in my decisions. You say you are stupid, but you don't mean it. Maybe you shouldn't listen to haunting harridans and belligerent brutes. No, I'm stupid. Philosophy is never stupid. You're right, you can see my intelligence and I can creatively too. I am not used to following my edges and details. Maybe it will improve my Bardcore album. Bardcore album. There needs to be another, more forehead hours, the history of the wrinkles. You could call it forehead core, certainly not the worst core genre ever conceived, surmised. Seers tell of metalcore and deathcore, the whiniest proceedings, cowardly riffs and tear-jerking falling down the stairs, fattest ugliest singers. If you're a fat ugly deathcore growler you sing better actually, just listen to. The critics will all unite against the core, it will change music as we love and know it. The apple is good except for the core, it did spawn alien core through, reasoned James, being fair and in his library of knowledge. What's that? Walls are closing in deathcore with alien themes, you're brutal if you like it. Captain, forehead was much like Nathan Explosion. I was turned into a chicken for 10 years, gotten quite used to grasslands and sitting on a perch, did you know? I wouldn't have pressed the issue. I was trying to rid the dark wizards of their tower and dungeon of forgotten tasklist. They said it would be impossible to access the final room. I listened to my greed and coughs of assertiveness. Count your success, don't spend the treasure too fast. I get nervous when I'm not in a dungeon. I want to fight you in the name of slapping. No you don't, you are a gym personality type, but you cannot beat a harridan in as true as a bar is made of wood or brick. He meant it. A game of arm wrestling, if I win you have to tell me your ambition. You can't always say the philosophy of reality and gritty no intuition is superior. James farted, which put him off balance. They were powerful and shouldery. It seems no arms went much in any direction. If the power could be converted into a slap, someone would have been grievously injured. The size and logistics of their arms like hard for an imagination, a game of the most sturdy gym git grit. Someone would have said I can beat, but they were no less giant in heart. Do you want to give up? Yeah, this seat is hard on my ass like a rock. They gave up perfectly evenly. I'm getting tired and I want to go bank something precious. The stop like the aftermatch could rip someone's hand off and going deep into limits of their body, like where someone can go too far. We have a musician that travels the world for beer, we get him to do pirating. A week later he had faced up the quickest draws one after one with 900% interest. It was shorter to aim your pistol to the heart than head, he thought. Despite bullets being rubber, he thought of ideas of different one-shotters, that really one shot. James found himself in a free-for-all. How do you figure this out? It's just like a bunch of nomads fight over a gold pit. Don't be aggressive, the more are, let them fight themselves. Monologue about diplomacy. Undead rapscallion tiny tentacle face fell down in smoke as he clutched his stomach. James, after practicing duels, had gotten his reflexes down to 15 milliseconds. Bugger, bugger, quadruple wanker, bugger. Congratulations, you beat rapscallion and the house take this dwarven hellclast. Face remover. A heavy, long shotgun-looking pirate revolver with mahogany wood and half the metal plated and some corals was given. Still long reload. No need to fight as this blows off their face, just like a butt wizard, just like on the label. Maybe there comes a second sea dog. Fixed shot pattern, well a rectangle, magical elven crystal blue flu powder with magical battery French Dutch. I'll conserve my energy like the dead on a couch. 1 of 15, 15 pieces of 8. Drunk on shots, Dutch captain failed to complete his sentence once, then said, "Down with arrogant French coffee," and shot a pirate pistol under the table. "Let's try this." James, in just impenetrable absolute unit shining black, then aimed the hell clasp, fully reaching his face.
Oh
Kablam.
my fucking
The
god.
clasp made a huge blue explosion and the captain laid face smoking feet up in the bar. Hooray, the bar went in and started drinking again. It's the Irish rum that separates us from animals. A pirate tracked a whiskey bottle over his head like lounging. James took the long orange Spitz drink and went observing the capybara island, part hot tub, part overgrowing island next to the bar stools. The capybaras loved the hotness and had oranges on their heads. James would drink yet focus on gather information, learning about latest shipwriting and add-ons like the bronze far-reaching new cannon, the smelling crew spells in a slippery soap on the outside bottle, new hammocks technology for confined greed. Both England and Italia both worked on the biggest 5-cannon vertical row ships that would be sure to destroy anything. They toiled intelligently, spending every buck, careering and shipwriting. Are you sure, Jimmy James lad? Paragalos, the British colony, has never been so illegally tempting, weak and rich. Plunder awaits like a rum bottle floated home. James convinced every honest pirate to attack, putting the Paragalos defense on its heels. Almost as many men, they survived most of the pirates and were licking their wounds as French ship of the line, Genevieve, with 48 guns and French flags, turned the corner. They had 2 star shooters as well, Black Dwarven super heavy bombards. The super bombard cut up the docks and base defense. It was just cannon fire, that had to be won. Through they had to tank shots from the long-range defense towers. They had towers with cannons for about a minute. French pirates came charging from the bottom with a cannon rolled. Red-coated heavy musketeers bayoneted and formed, versus pirates with one-shot revolvers, fashionable, singularly fashionable. Servants of English pints. They were well-mannered not to hurt too many civilians, used to this game, and went straight for the governmental buildings and governor. A beautiful hourglass brunette, Olivia, governor's daughter, said, "Bloody pirates," as they approached British high culture. "She is so rich her freckles are gold." James went, "Look, there's a governor's daughter, don't shoot." She was pushed into the group, struggling thus into James' arms. "I won't be rough, you're safe around my biceps," proclaimed towering James, looking down.
Crazy.
Pirates might have ripped jewelry off her neck. "I'm exceedingly cactus jackass Jack. Shove a cannonball up your cunt, James." "Help me, less thick-accented French person. I'm a mercenary and pirate," he said, considering creed. "This is the most dangerous time to be a government's daughter, even more than choosing the coffee room decor." Out came the main military and treasure guards. They were dressed in red and white British colours, some hard leather, some steel cuirass and axes, some blue and white Scottish. On they fought with bombardment of pistols, cannons rolled forwards and caught many people in the stomach. Fierce piracy was met with guarding nationalism, sword fights were long as everyone just blocked. Pirates winning went 2-on-1. They were fencing armorless pirates, except for the sentinel pirates, having magical and steel armor mix. Our quartermaster Jeremy was making mincemeat and empanadas of the enemy, carrying a new hand cannon, more cannon than hand cannon. He was an elite pirate. James punched people into the air. They were honest spectacles of red and white and would all land at the same time. James saw the governor in the background, fat and in a green silky suit. James used his teleport powers, short-ranged and low on stamina, to the surprise of the governor. "For the money," James said like an accountant, and plucked the man under his arm like lightweight. "I'll pay you 1,000 quid if you abduct me somewhere safe. Oh dear, we have not protected any new resource. We focused on beautiful growth." "Can you pay 10 times more?" said James, surprisingly negotiable. A side-switching mercenary. "Well, I'm not prepared to pay more than 2,000. I'm not worth it." "Good to have an honest opinion," James went on to his pirates confidently. "I always wanted to have a wig like this," said a thin triangle-jawed pirate, and nicked his hair. "You look beautiful." "Lock him in the captain's room," said the pirate quartermaster, "and rumkeep." "I want to be imprisoned with my father," said the daughter. "Seal them in together, and prevent their impending escape. We don't want to lose any leverage," said James like a real ENTP pirate, like Jack Sparrow is portrayed, thorough and confusing. The intuition makes sense to them like correlated math. They are really intuitive, a world other people cannot access compared to spiritual. Jens had farted so bad the governor's shirt buttons all unbuckled, his suit and garments all split, his hair turned unkempt and greasy. He was speechless. The captain of the guard blocked their way into the treasure vault, which was in a white guard tower. He too had a fancy shirt and a white wig with an opulent rapier. "I am a master fencer, riddle me a man full of holes." Thus they fenced as speedily as the eye can see. James was busy with his light weapon, the stabbing rapier, and thought to grab a sword next time and cut through. "Silly little thing, better freeze it. Why don't you trip over some dicks? Did you know fencing with rapiers is called fencing with dicks? Have a nice trip," he said like he was firing him from a cannon. Oof. Olivia had sealed the deal by picking up a cannonball and throwing it into the stomach of the captain. James thought there was no sound, but it looked like it had been fired from a cannon. Olivia then picked him up with 2 arms, then slapped him with his 2 others until submission. Stop dying, you can't take a cannonball. The circular keep was gilded with treasure, resources that could be turned into coffee, wine, whiskey, chocolate and cigars, blue Jamaican. I can stand smoking these if I can have Cuban later, said Olivia. Please my beloved, I am supposed to protect the governor's daughter. Put him into a cannon, said James with an insane eye. In the Coffee Bean Islands, there were magical man cannons, black dwarven of course, that could shoot someone a quarter across the islands but didn't shoot destructive cannonballs as a resort. The captain got shuffled ass first, only hands and feet sticking out. French people cannot make coffee. He screamed in fear. And almost instantly he was shot onto Chinese waters. The cannon didn't make much sound but left blue light powder in the air. Quite a mouth on that one, said Olivia. Yeah, did you hear he was charming the Gov daughter, responded James. Then he went to charm the governor's daughter. James didn't sell the place to France, but the Spanish, and when they had settled in they raided everything again, took their treasure vault pretending to be penniless corsairs. Some of the treasure was still being shipped, so they found the treasure line and boarded them, leaving the treasure ships intact, slow but well armed, and sold them, and then finally made it a new French outpost. Joining them on the raids freely was Pirate Blackbeard. He looked goatee and goated, young and undamaged. He had hints of greatness, but his deeds were not yet done. He didn't have a black beard through, everyone called him thus, but he had the widest black moustache going to his ears like knives instead and black stubble. Enemies seemed to fall before him like rag dolls as he had 1 pistol more and stabbed for them thus. 1 eternal pistol and rapier. You're too brutal, Blackbeard, so you cannot wrench the world you know. What devious plot did he have, ready to move the territories? He will be known as the deadly slaughter mist who only moved when he had to. The next day, the governor's daughter seemed to leave him for her main gig. She had been poor to communicate. They were perfect for each other, just like the rich can be slick. Our fates have been intertwined, but never braided. Damn it, I need someone whose secrets doesn't hurt me. James practiced his teleporting, but also saved some mana on the bigger jumps with vials. He found Sabrina concerned and fascinated with the post office on Earth. First, I teleported to Schmet and Shekels banks by accident. Do you want to join me on Nagas and Coves? I have been waiting for an adventure like this, sure, she smiled. He felt really good, overstimulated, hugging her, but at least it wasn't nervous perverse like you can get from depression. She was endearing and cute, pink death too as always. She had reshaped her horns. James didn't know you could do that with a popular haircut spell, into 1 decimeter straight, then slightly curved back horns. Cut 8 times slightly like a garlic baguette. Enter French coffee base. Rebluchon said, are you safe with population and animals? I do expect nothing bad from you, James interjected, half confident. If you're a good person, you're always in control. I have to say, James, you procured the hottest from the dating show. Fancy, said Sabrina. Fancy, said James. Wow, this tastes so much better than the burnt Italian stuff in hell. I don't have to force it down. Like coffee, like a cute habit, but I have never tasted something delicacy. Some go their entire life without delicacy coffee. Here's an idea, James said as ENTP, an automatic reheating spell with the coffee. We should sell it as a machine maybe. What about a tasteless reheating cube, said Olivia. What about putting the coffee mug on a reheating platform shaped like commercials? Get on it. I think I will go on a treasure hunt and get rid of the siren in the cove. She's eating our crew and transportation. Yes, she keeps eating the mail runners and lighter ships. If you go on Friday, I will clear it as working hours. They went through the beach of bodybuilders. There was a wide-shouldered view of, well, everyone really looked the same. There were gym bros, female beefy athletes that were exposed to so many egos, views. Like the tropical birds, not to mention those in proximity, they were all dancing, getting no response. They sold pirate protein shakes with rum and pirate protein bars. The boothman fitted in, giving charm and trustworthiness, thus he looked just like the others. They surrounded them. James wondered first why he felt such intimidating energy, but then he realized it was because they were going for Sabrina. How are you doing in this fine weather, ma'am? He was a bulky pirate. He had top 1% strength genetics and fitting endurance because he was so broad, the impression of a boxer too big. Do you want a protein shake? They asked James. James was like, I'm in a proper state. It has been half a day and I have only eaten 100 grams of protein. He pitched the pitcher from the side and downed 100 grams frantically, gulping like a seagull. Grams of white protein trickled down his muscle cheeks like vitamins. It exited his mind, turned into necessity. He thought of carbohydrates, not like a fattening pasta or soluble fiber, but as a fuel for his muscles to work, like it was the only fuel. He should have thought it is not as noticeable. It is not a slavering of honey nor very exceeding while exceeding diet. But he had been gimming on a calorie deficit, sharping abs like a baguette by a moustached blacksmith, barely fitting into the apron. It is as painful as fever in the joints. Maybe he should have thought he gets used to it. At some point the resistance is like a faint thought. To walk or run to lose weight on a calorie deficit is more like getting used to distance running, or running at all, the sedation of layers getting used. That's what James had done. Being a stomping, crunching runner is getting used to the layers of resistance, until an hour is just a number, and the arrogance is increasing your weekly load. Did you know me and the boys are the biggest here? There was secondary short haircut stubble sides boys, considerable like another B movie. I doubt that. You need to prove it by getting me 100 sea urchins. I'm not stupid, you're only saying that to get rid of me. For some reason, he said this with confidence. You have small calves. He scurried away like someone had insulted his ship. The stubble-side wide-faced degenerate friend didn't say anything. He looked at him with slacks. There were bodybuilders greasy with glimmer in their eyes, eating meat off the bone, cylinders of animals and muscles designed to pull in one direction. Do you want an Odin's hammer, wrapped in bacon and grilled on the free-for-all grill? If you're a bodybuilder, said Sabrina. He spoke ambitiously in a system. I mustn't let up my protein intake in the hotel or traveling. I bought mini grills. He was getting meat like medicine, counting every 20 grams of protein and standards of gimming. He's in the system, the cholesterol system. He only knows meat, normal like milk products. I can't eat milk products. We must get him out. Milk makes your bones more brittle, not better. But milk has complete protein and impossible to bake without. Vegan baking is on the rise. So you're saying it's bad right now? Milk has calicum, said the capitalist, but its acidic content makes your body alkalize with bones, making them less dense. It also has saturated fat, which is one of the worst possible things you could eat, like in inflammation. It's got effects like poison. I can realize I need to counter the saturated fat with green stuff to have half my diet acceptable. I just need to say the healthiest available information for you to make the decision yourself. It is true you need protein intake 180 grams or whatever lifting scrap, but never being told it should be green could result in many diseases, and quality of life like someone living their last years, resistance and no focus. You don't know what you're missing, like one could imagine 10 out of 10 health to be. It is amazing. Focus and feeling, like a fountain of youth and things you don't feel, but are very optimal. It is like being depressed without it, I notice when going back to normal. They entered a skull 11 by 11 meters mouth of Maui cut out over a cove next to Buana Island. We might see the Weddell seal. Seal the deal with a zealous seal. Of course it's an underwater entrance. They emerged slimy against wandering long-armed jellyfish. On land they walked on meter-long 2 arms and stunned mercilessly with the third. As they came and stunned James, he channeled it with lightning magic, then retorted in a blast that sundered him all, loud like cracking sky. I hear of nasty greater green variants, monstrous jellyfish, laying dormant as a trap, with something like sight. Sabrina hugged James, attracted by the adventure. You were one big muscly deadly conduit. She saw through his brains through not just his physique. She didn't know it, but was maybe as smart, a real clever succubus. There was a catacomb of doors, halls and rooms, but plenty of beautiful colors. There were corals on the walls, fishes of all colors of the rainbow. Those are some big sea urchins. They blocked the exit 1 by 1 meters in a room of varying sizes, purple and black they crawled, worryingly, industrious. If you speed up a camera you see they're concerned like a predator, delicious salty taste of the sea. I can detonate them, said Sabrina knowledgeable. Drink this overload mana vial. Succubuses are really good at fire magic. Soon every 1 meter sea urchin detonated like a minefield. Don't detonate my nuts, James said like a squirrel. In the next room were giant clams. Based on your strength you could get the treasure. Watch this. With monstrous strength James opened one just with his arms, shaky arms. They're sapphire and emerald in small rectangles. The next 2 rooms were desolate and empty, then another one with a 10-meter clam. This one wouldn't budge like a goat. I can't get it open. That's one hell of a pinch. James charged blood magic for 30 seconds then. Kebab after a drunk Wednesday strength. He wrenched open the clam with impossible power, half a meter. The muscles and movement didn't align with the results. It sounded like wrought steel. Do you want to get in there? That pearl is opulent. Succubus suction, she said mischievously. The half-meter pearl was sucked. In a room they could silver insects like a flying lava with pipe mouth. Kitchen destroyers. This nasty bug will suck out your mana and stamina. There was a pool of hammerhead sharks, hammerhead in a cross and tail that is a Swiss knife. Called bottle opener sharks. They had to traverse the water. The water was for some scrupulous purpose for the fishmen. They didn't seem to bothered by the party. They swam gliding like ghosts. There was a black, white 5 meters pufferfish that they were anxiously, laser-focused, watching deeply. It was breathing nervously but didn't engage. The other sharks feared it like cowardly, beyond how brave it was perhaps. In an even longer corridor they met thick fishmen with circular saw hands and anglerfish heads. You will fall before the siren. These treasures are to lust you before our den. Don't fight me, I am the supreme slayer Atlational. We trust in your build, you must be enhanced, normal humans don't go above that muscle level. One of them had balls that seemed to breathe like gills hanging on his face cheeks. Where is the siren anyway? Keep going east. They gave it away with his casualness. A few rooms later, after blubber jellyfish and poisonous shelled snails, they met 2 fishmen carrying a treasure chest heavy. We promise we didn't kill any men. Wonder if they did, thought Sabrina as she lit everything on fire. They smoldered and engulfed in flame like leaves. Fire tsunami. Great, put the chest in my magically confined bag. I can feel something now through. They fought a giant crab humanoid with crab arms so muscular that they were crippling his heart. They carried from the west. Enter Siren's room. They came upon a huge beautiful crusty ship in a 150 by 150 meter room. It seemed sun-kern and fit 5 times as many animals, including barnacles. The 25 meters high, 25 by 100 meter ship was gargantuan. I welcome you to Moby Dick, your treasure will gleam as will your intestines. A 4-meter maiden, an attractive pale mermaid-looking siren, looked upon them with a trident. She had a light starfish haircut and large nude breasts. I blocked any attempts for her to get into your mind. I think I'm gonna study magic of the mind, James said conversationally. I am your reckoning siren, your stealing and rupture have attracted me. She blew in her conch, but James' mind was barely addled. Bigger fish frontline clothesline, James thwacked the siren in the neck and she hit the ship. She hit James fist for fist with her left hand trying to win with her trident, she was strong. She deflected flame wave with her spinning trident from Sabrina which made James charge fire magic. He charged in light and his surroundings until they scented in him jumping, scientific method C4. James blasted like a star, everything was surprisingly explosive thus. ARGH the siren let out a beautiful scream and covered her face. Seared she flooded the room with water with her trident, what was she going to do now? Like a shark she turbo-jetted trying to cut them trident first. It turned hard to see, darn she got to the succubus. James felt the danger of his weaker friends dying, or in danger, like a project you need to micromanage. Sabrina used her strong succubus muscles, fierce like deceit, pulling a flaming cutlass she parried the trident, through she was weaker, they slashed and parried 3 times, the beautiful display was winning through throwing their weapons left and right. The mermaid jetted like giant cannons 5 times and hit the party. James generated super plasma glue on lightning, it was quite difficult but soon caught the siren gasping for air in pain. The lightning lit the surrounding water on fire the entire way, it melted the siren like chocolate butter. Turns out the spell waned, the siren was an old hag with a double chin. The room flushed the water out like a toilet. I feel dead inside, said James, like an old school cheap horror story. Striped black and white snakes, dead animals. I only enjoy half. Chapter, Songs of Isolation. A hill to die upon, that's what I want with a little more of putting up with things, giving up as there's a new breeze of requirements and needs. A worthy totem and crystallation, fading into wind like sand. James had a tendency to be a depressed genius through, or stay just above depressed. It had been shocking like the finest, most profound art in the world the first time, as much feeling as one can take with old forgotten promises now spiritual. The past as court put dire to James McIvory, just leave me be, I'll wait things out. Bit strange maybe how some confidences stick, but to find unyielding confidence, coming to insight in depression is a good idea. Depression haunts intelligent people, a tendency to blame yourself, extra weight, bit senseless guiltiness. The past had haunted him until this. He needed to have it good before it could surface, what he had was not real stability. Like brain damage through an arrow in the head, James cared not but indulge in entertainment and food. It was too hard to take care of yourself, the weight was oppressive, who cared about anything he had to do? Being treated so substandardly in his life, he now had to slowly figure out if he was good enough. Him going to live for the last fun he'll ever have. I'll keep up the work for other people, Napoleon. He didn't feel much right now, to be honest. Like a melancholic sitcom, you think it feels good not to feel, but it is saddening. He had anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure, some were fleeting. You chase it but don't get it. He felt something from eating and engaging in games, so that's what he did. Exploring like an art connoisseur, sometimes addicted to wrong timings, but he had to keep going. Depression can be hard to recover fully from, to not exist in the grey world, 1 foot in the personal delusion, like a presumptuous psychology theory. There is not just antidepressing things, but maybe pills increasing learning speed, brain boosters. Many spend their entire life still partly in the dark world with anhedonia, like damage to the brain. It is still a natural phenomenon. The feeling spelled separation anxiety even before someone left, but it was only about so few people. James realized it must be some past trauma before he could remember. The alcohol tasted so good it brought him to tears, like life was no more, the Loire and the fiery Alsace. Keep going, another drink, the time was thus, now he felt what he always missed. Maybe others could reason his behavior made a lot of sense, it was excellent wine. These games meant a lot, they could satisfy him sometimes everything was just a mess inside, like someone who needed help. Sometimes he didn't know what to feel. He questioned if he was fake. Was he good enough? Was he a drag that just needed to be executed? Yes, I think I am good enough to exist, to live, and he would not question it again. A king in my own mind. Was he a man or mouse? These questions are old and for an insecure teenager surfacing again because of the burning of finite candles. Once he had less of everything he had followed his good sides bravely, flowing on brilliance, positivity, reaching spiritually. This is more easy as you are able, and normal. Was he confident a man, compared to the realest men, surely? A person should know himself so well he needs no consciousness to shake anything off. So easy to build a confidence and stability in the waves of random events that may come, you just need encouragement and not every group animal to be dismissive. Independence builds the character no matter the circumstances. Would people not accept a nerdy thinker? Who was it who he shouldn't have asked?
No.
I understand its feelers in their own insecurities who dismiss nerdy thinkers, desperate to make borders. Deep inside himself he had always found a shelter early, like a cocoon of youth, a safe place ultimately untouchable. Even depressed his first time he had an iron confidence in himself to be able to accomplish all his Ironman goals, unextinguishable, what mortal could ever break this force? It is still motivation like the end of times, like things have to be bad. It was a dance of egoism in materialistic nothing, performance of hubris and deficiency of magnesium that got him depressed again. Prominent like a poison by a haughty assassin, entropy of the brain. It's 5 times more clear the week before he got it. A dangerous game he played now, he could lose every card in his hand. But he had always been calm in these serious situations. He had also turned melancholic until every movement and thought was pierced by black compartmentalizing ice. Something that would be resistant to treatment he. Better not stay too long in this hopeless stability, for the remaining hope will gut you until you are left with nothing. You get one day in the sun. Antidepressants he remembered aren't strong enough on their own. Maybe now he could eat some salad. You need to do multiple things like run consistently, add antidepressing coconut water, eat healthy, no saturated fat. Or good enough things would happen that lifted him out. If only that could happen. He didn't completely get out of his first depression in 4 years when he was 15 to 19. How unproductive he was, how stupider, because brilliance flows on positive emotions and confidence. And depression could come back in the future as long as he wanted to be accomplished in the hardest way for him, a perfect citizen in a perfect critique. You have to settle for what you can do, even if the worst. To exist in how you thought you had to be versus even a long allowance of who you actually are. Depression is being unable to play a role other people want. You can see this crux as people try for more and more change than they're able. There was a finite feeling, he didn't care, the pain would stop, the aggravation of life, it would all end, death greets you warm for your hardship. His family in the future wouldn't know. They probably thought he would pop up any day and be sarcastic. He existed for them like an artist, commenting emotion and demanding angles. He did have unfinished paintings, unfinished crushes and promises of intelligence. He had a different, more awkward relationship for his family, a conversation building on expectations on yourself and promises. Maybe a cute ship showed because his mother, the limits of mother's sensitivity and hearty extroverted group management. Maybe he should think of how first, he needed to search for aliens in medieval times. He had gained 50 kilograms of fat to his bulky body, oh dear. How does that even happen? One day at a time. You can have the most infinite will-controlled eating. He ate to live, he really did, but the interesting thing that was he was a gourmand. He picked meal and meal, drink and savored the taste. To him it was the food of the gods for real and true. Chasing the sacred and unhealthy wrong choice bready cheesy flavors of a lasagna or a little bit spicy too, sugar and cream, wine and draft. He wanted gumbo and red wine, biaf bourguignon and goulash soup. We can see the high energy and muscle makes you crave the food. Comically his mind held on to the taste of goulash soup like the most sensible idea. Like healthy, or self-sustaining. He craved sushi and ordered every item on Indian menus, and many at a time. He got other people with him to eat the menus and these eating challenges. Muscle balloons and fat blobs. 100 sushi pieces was reached. James wondered if we could drink the entire barrel of throwaway stew they had, gulping at the bottom of the barrel at Rapier and Sons. You can eat your weight in tiramisu, right? This time didn't shove away friends for odd interests or reject women for degeneracy, despite the world shunning him one intolerant shoulder at a time. When it was really awful, he couldn't shake the fact he was agreeable just like them. He was just a nerd, a thinker. There be hamburgers expensive and elevated, Italian pasta dishes not focused on protein. Mashed potatoes like Golden Lakes, baguette with delicacy hard cheeses. First, he didn't notice he was getting bigger. It was just angles, a trick of the light, something that didn't count. Unwrapping a cookie, goddammit, it's just a cookie, doesn't count towards my calorie diet. Quote, bodybuilder Rich Piana. Sitting hurt his back and walking wasn't just walking, he had been buff his entire life. Oh no, I turned fat in it, fried tacos. Burp. Just let yourself go, said Arnaud, who knows if this was a helpful mindset, he tripped over his mental legs for sure some way thus. But he was so muscular that he looked really similar, it was just the stomach, a real 16-month spear-pregnant gut. Thanes looked like this, and some orcs. He noticed he was slower and it was harder to dodge, but he was stronger, mass moves mass, he was like a ferocious giant slamming down ungodly power. Unbelievable, his peers exclaimed, he moved so well, seamlessly, dangerously. He picked up his old exercising and it was still doable, just like you can get used to carrying a heavy backpack, just tough in the beginning. Some 1 repetitions records were recorded, top 1% genetics makes for an interesting period being fat. The biggest part of being fat is the extroverted acting, the opinions of others and sight. It was a test, now he had to prove himself to others all the time. He was no longer just fine the way he was and he had to tank the most elaborate, speaking of peers, or entitled arseholery. Feelings of being okay met by piercing egoist elitism, in the vanity wavelength. It's great talking to other fat people, it's like a secret society, everything is with less presumption. Maybe dating should be with other fat people, thus, everything was solved. A little bit his body seemed to allow for more thought, but especially feelings, and patience with the feelings of others. His voice was stronger and different, he had genius spare energy now because he was so genetic. Some ideas clicked genius as he said them, but he didn't always figure out why. James had explored exercising while being fat, like a sumo wrestler. He still went for long runs, arms were no problem gimming while he sat down, he was strong now for the first time to contest even Olivia, which was a source of great pride actually. He had worked hard on his speed technique now and could almost phase out of reality and sight from others, although it felt like he was carrying something unstable. He tried running a marathon again, and he could do it. It was intensity training this time, only the last hour was tough. He chose to walk 3 minutes every hour, because that's how long it takes for the heart to recover from thus strenuous exercising. He loved food, and he had an appetite that was 200% of his size. What he was to do in the future now was to choose the time to do it sparingly. Is being fat okay? That's a good question for a time like depression. Ouch. Do you tolerate fat? He had always enjoyed talking to thick, girthy people in the gym, and now maybe he would be rewarded for his tolerance. He had indeed never moralized fat in a spiteful way, being a gym bro. Just encouraging the journey, it's just mass. James thought it was as a measurement of size or shape, philosophically very fine, but it had objectively some points minus for health that could not be argued away. Something he would consider for himself now, he couldn't shake the cholesterol problems, cancer, blood sugar and blood pressure unless vegan. Getting fat after 40 is so bad against the most common 15 killers that doctors think it's one of the worst things you can do. You live 4 to 8 years less on average. Anything unhealthy needs to be stopped before it is time, that's the reality. Last he noticed gaining 50 kilograms of fat mostly had changed his voice, more assertive and convincing, grand and glorious, he sounded egregious and could push his voice deep and operatic. That must be what those opera singers were looking for. He didn't care, he was going to die fat, no consequence. Maybe there's a pointed rapier from a fancy swordsman. Disaster, New Paris colony is being prosecuted by Abraham the testicle torsion wizard. A swath of gallery, he is here to settle the times. Deep blue and white magical ship echoed with fire and thunder, and they drew close. They had a ship of the line with 48 guns and 2 Ottoman bombards, lightning cracked the sky, triple cannons that fire a volley every time an allied pirate dies. That's a proper ship. It's no Dutch bark, carrying goods and getting broadsided. This was no half-hearted invasion, they were gonna wipe their ass with their flag and take a shit on their lawn. They drew near with their own ships, but Abraham sealed their cannons with blue sticky fudge like magic. I can shoot cannonballs through my ass, best in my class, said Yensid quietly but confidently. They loaded up Yensid from behind. He bent over and started shooting cannonballs like railguns. They crushed the enemy ship and would be good enough in the bombardment of the broadsides. Teleport me over, James was feeling pissed. Napoleon teleported a group over before they could broadside. James was taking out the unfairness of life by taking his enemy Spanish out. Poor souls. As long as he felt spite, James reached new records of violence. He fought excellently but emotional, like begging to get shot by an arbalist. If you want my mind, you're going to have to fucking kill me. Inspired by the barbarians, he did a boxing whirlwind. Anyone who got hit flew off the ship. Abraham will show you where your new testicles are. Look at this testicle torsion amateur. I will show you how to outclass thus, Yensid said quietly to James. Testicle torsion, Abraham cast upon Yensid. Mackensize butthole removal, Yensid said, echoing and loud. The torsion stopped through its counter. No, not my ass. I can't feel a thing. Please, I need to go to the bathroom already. I think I'm going to turn into a balloon while eating tacos. Starts inflating. I cast, no beard thus, an inoperable brain tumor. Oh God, no, stop. He's begging me to stop, said Yensid like a superhero. I cast stanky leg, silly walks, shattered walking stick. You're going too far as a wizard. He tried to curse him back. I curse you, to be always incoherent while talking to women. Where I come from, wizards cast, your Wi-Fi, connected, no internet, said James. I cast, a minute of constipation. This is too much, I'm so uncomfortable. I cast, large-handed square prostate exam. I curse you with, female moustache. Every day you will remove it and every day it will grow back. I cast, minute of savagery. Abraham started biting nearby pirates in the shoulder. Impotence impetuous. His balls turned into cannonballs. Abraham sat down on his hands instantly. Cruelty is a matter of perspective. Constipated is a matter of perspective. What? Sabrina addled his mind, weakening him for a combo. Unholy Horizon's sky uppercut. You could hear him getting hit by a punch, but then he was instantly gone, flying 200 meters per second, who knows where or when he would land. Up to the Caribbean maybe. Now it was up to beat the rest of the crew. This is Ardus. Leave the rest of the ships to me. Yensid did battle teleportation and appeared quite shocking for first-time analysis of the crew. Ground pound. The ship was crunched in 1.5 seconds into the depths from the middle, pulled under the horizon of the deep blue denizens. Every minute or so a ship was pulled down. They had not enough magic or steel icebreakers. You can't break this ship, wizard. I am Admiral Lockholler the Alcoholer. Indeed, his magic like steel held the ship on his concentration. You cannot crunch through the beauty and marble. Your ground pound will be your doom. Yensid powerfully rotated and with 2 shockwaves landed on Lockholler. He dropped his jagged cutlass and protected himself feebly, his mind and lives not used to the carnage. His shooting Maystar armor was struggling. Its resistance was incredible in something like this, like a promise. Yensid powerfully landed again and said, "Give up, your machination is forfeit." He struggled but said nothing. You can't resist my ground pound ass magnitude. There was genuine fear as the captain begged for his life but communicated it poorly. Yensid upped the power and silenced the tide and the sea. Again he struck fists, clenching power and impossible fate. With power beyond his tier, the power was leveling the ship in, the surroundings was not as solid. The shooting Maystar armor fractured slowly and shattered. Like a meteor, Yensid went through and broughed the admiral down with his ship. His white eyes were unconscious under the water, his crew was fleeing on ship beams. James took a breath as he dived through the floor, beating up every specialized cannoneer. Sumo slap and sumo collider. He defied physics. Sabrina was playing with fire, fighting many expert pirates. She exerted expanding inferno waves, summoned fire hydras and critically headshot with fireballs. Pirates that tried to resist magic, she ran away to another deck, leaving inferno trails in her wake. One pirate was a half mage, but she got into his mind and completely blacked him out like a psychologist about maybe working theory. Yensid jumped and ground pounded, his ass crunch being stronger than the material, and went through 3 levels of the ship. Help us, we're Chinese prisoners by the unholy torsion wizard. We will pay you, let us out, a desperate voice said behind bars. Let us in, let us out. Behind Yensid a cutlass pirate swung a ball and chain. Yensid used his ass like a flashlight, blinding the enemy, then after charging power, jumped and flatulence manifest in his face. Freezing him through freezing his brain, then with a practiced swift karate heel kick, kicked his head off. A half-breed werewolf mage was indeed part of the tough crew and he exited the treasure vault. Yensid met Ice Beam on Firewave. They spewed and fought, the beam was going back and forth. You will bend to my bending over technique. There are no wizards, we fail and lose track. Inspired by James' arm wrestling, Yensid put balls and larger balls into his Ice Beam, overwhelming the Weramage and freezing his arms. Concentrated slushy blizzard. Yensid made a 1x1 meter cube frozen as the ice comet dwarf star and the mage fell over as an ice cube with legs. Help UUUUSSSSSS. Don't worry, no physical lock is safe from Yensid. Jens had put his buttocks on the prison door with the pressure opened it like a cork. Somehow it made a cork sound. They inspected the treasure vault. There was a desk for the captain maybe, but there were piles of gold, candles and gold cups to the roof. It looked like the most secret expensive room in the Western Sea. "Who are you?" said James to the Asians. "Have you never seen a prisoner? Shoot them across the coffee bean island." Indeed, they would be shot into Chinese waters. Who knew if it would be helpful? "I'm going to clear my head with some traveling, I think," said Jensen. "I can take this attack to New Paris headquarters." He put on his magical swim feet that made him stand on water, then he crouched 90 degrees and farted like a motorboat, skimming a purple fish across the sea. James was feeling as ambitious as only a psychomotor genius can, stimuli sensitive neuromuscular system among other things. Like zealous energy breaching limits. "Napoleon, I want to uptake making beer and sell. I think I know how to do it already. For the rowdies, those that open their fridge for no reason and those that can't find their keys. We'll see how this goes with a small month's investment, prove you can make profit." James thought to really making something unique, not cheap, and something he would drink himself. The taste of beer is fine, but he would like something that completely knocks you out with flavor, like a luxury liver punch, something 10 out of 10. James read ancient text from drunk monks and illuminating coffee bean Caribbean delicacies. There were stories of gourmand and studies of wizards, not a library but scrolls for ancient recognition and purpose. Yeast consumes the sugar from the broken starch, wanted byproducts. The combination of hops, barley and yeast makes the flavor different.
Why am I
Price, duration and temperature, percent and black girl. James decided he wanted to make 1 knockout beer, 1 lemonade or chocolate beer, 1 Christmas beer. James went shopping for every yeast, hops and barley, as expensive as he could dare, while still being a deal. He crunched words with surly strawed hop sellers and pinched almost secrets from red-faced brewers. They didn't know what he was going to do. "Wow, this beer is delicious," he said to the brewer. He bought 10 of the best contemporary beers and synthesized what made him thus and would remember it forever. His palate could separate every ingredient and sensation. He learned from legendary monk, biologist Ulrich Joran Ursel to brew honey wine and champagne. He was fat, sassy and invented the monk's haircut. He took golden gull and alcohol found on different planes and experimented on way too hot temperatures like with Italian coffee, direct and make room with the burntness. Dwarves were hard getting anything out of except how the toe of Satan hops grew without sunlight. One threatened him Scottish over kangaroo steak. James was unhappy with the first knockout beer. It tasted like brass, not gold. "Let's change half the barley into Shetland Golden Main." This one tasted more pleasant brass, almost non-beer-like. He could pretend this was the best beer. Scottish Wizard's Bloodleach yeast was substituted. Fine beer it made. Gulp it was until 3 days. Another batch he tried blasting the grains with spells spicy and blast chilling with yeast that made a different weaker alcohol Chateau Hay drunk, and it knocked him out. Like making him smarter and wiser knockout, a suggestive kiss. Like clouds and whipped cream. The price was 2.5 quid to make, about 2 times more expensive than normal alcohol. "The student is out of the making laws district," said Napoleon. "I have before you beer," said disciple, "drink golden. This is going to sell, man. Sell it for 3 quid. Call it James Knockout. What's the percentage?" 1.7%. This might be a problem. Let's hope people get drunk enough. You can drink more. This made with pleasant Chateau. Chapter, Hungover. James tried adding cocoa powder and half brown sugar into his leech unsuccessful beer. It had paved the red-faced way. Had to taste a bit chalky and flat. More insane, James thought to add ground fat hen gourmand coffee beans and a diabolical sinful mix. 8.5 out of 10. James always got drunk on Christmas beer, or even higher percentage German bock beer during thus. Prost, you can't drink many. He infused Hell's habanero hops with pressure cooking and just barley he knew would work from other beer. Instant success. James Chapter 3 Delicacy beers. Maybe I should sell them 3 by 3. Things would go prosperous for James Napoleon Caffeinated Industries. They made bigger batches counting the dollar and took out a large margin with the delicacy beer. They competed with English super solid pints, dwarves drinking dark dwarf stuff. Dwarf Guinness was a trustworthy staple. French manless combat and fencing masters, who were allergic to grapevines, made unaccessible wine and Chinese Mijiu beer and Shaojing wine. A drunk spy managed to remember. Napoleon, Chinese Maotai Baiju Industries just moved the delicious storage uncompartmentalized. Even the new cherry soda cider. I know where. I have a credible source. You can always trust dishonest people to be dishonest. Wizard Yensid, Napoleon, James and 10 honest pirates edged across the dark docks. The darkness told them dark insanity not to trust like fear over futility. It smelled like dirt and cement too. In here, the spy mentioned a guard over documents and swindle room. I will take him out silently. They came to a door with a grate. They saw the guard neck. Yensid jumped and sucked his ass to the door. With an incredible suction he stuck the guard to the grate. AAARG, oh my god. The guard started screaming. Eventually Yensid started screaming too. Crunch. Yensid had broken the neck of the guard. Unchivalrous, they snuck to the strong lager were opened with giant doors, stood the Chinese inventory, shelf after shelf. Take this anti-poison scaly potato cactus, we have as many as you need. If you drink too much I can suck the alcohol out of your blood and turn into blood pearl dust. They opened bottle, can and leg, armed with capsule opener and cork machine. This is delicious, said James, drinking cherry and blackcurrant cider. He felt modernly Asian. I don't know how they drink the wine tonic, said Napoleon. Brit, Belfast isn't that bad. He felt insulted. It's terrible alcohol though. 5 hours later. They sat on rough equipment in a circle drinking the last wine bottles, straight from the bottle. With Yensid dissolving their alcohol they had drunk, the entire inventory. Canaan Riesling, very interesting. Finally I can afford every recommended delicacy wine, they were right. To piracy. Pilfer and borrow forever. May the best country conquer the islands. To the Chinese they left a card from Tea and Coffee Industries Ming Bokken. Thanks for the inventory, it was delicious. Napoleon and James felt just as good, productive returning. We need to make a commercial. We can't film anything in 1001. What, filming with, about a potato? That'll work. Do you think we should change name to Underbite Assertiveness Industries? Strategic hip replacement. Chapter The Last Yodeling of Fate. Darn, that's the banker Herr Shekel that's going to sponsor British tea, coffee heroes. Not all heroes wear capes, some wear lederhosen, said Napoleon. Despite having a cigarette in his mouth, he was yodeling like hypnotizing. He picked up speed impossible as his bowler hat shined from greed. Be careful, James, they say he's so greedy he can transform into a dragon. After applause, hysteric, the INTP, showing their most intolerant side, yet still auxiliary, like them engaging in a groups ready to give up, edged over to Napoleon. His intent was like a predator, his steps told a dangerous story. I see you, Napoleon, you don't like that I have been sponsoring the British. The corporations will be a British-German mix. These are my partners now, you are done. I won the last chess game and territory of Fitzgerald. He knew he was unbeatable pretty much before gloating. You can't beat the caffeine addiction with German engineering. I'm going to show you how to eat your bowler hat. I will surge quarterly prospecting with British Expo. Shekel is going to fart confetti so tomorrow we die alive, James. That curls my toes. No, I'm not. Napoleon Industries ended up brewing wine too, and James had room in his brain for this without even creating a break. Vineyards they had bought from Shooting Count in a Culverin had Pinot Noir, one of the best wine grapes, they mixed with their own. James realizes any fruit can be made into wine, can mix in concentrations of other fruit. The ENTP realizes the value of an idea or the future, the best it feels like intuitive talent. It's just some acidic sugar water for yeast to grow in. Yeast will expand, but air in causes stale oxidized wine. Degus the wine, clarify with white night clay. Once again, the best soil, yeast, grapes and sugar, and the combination of thus makes the best wine. Crushing the fruit yourself makes for better taste than crushing fruit yourself for juice. He would spend to hope rich people would. He knew some people favorably drink cheaper wine by the cent different. Counting the dollar over noticing the taste. James tried watermelon wine, blueberry and strawberry blueberry lime. Let's try brown sugar, sucrose boiled into fructose and glucose, and even honey, Red Star Montrachet or champagne yeast. He had to try apple and mango wine. Everyone knows what their food is worth at a restaurant, but drinking the audaciously expensive wine glass. No idea, this is how modern high-class restaurant profit is made. Inspired James would sell his blueberry and mango wine as something dandy and exclusive, take out a confusing margin. He sweetened his blueberry wine, it has a lot of flavor. He knew the best-selling wine here tasted like 50% juice. The sourest watermelon wine, he thought to switch honey as the sugar the yeast ate, it made sense. And when tasting he could also taste the sensibleness, but other things had happened too, like unwanted guests coming to drink your wine. James were thinking intelligently, possibly, backwards. Wow, if I get the cheapest hops I have, wrong bittermitten barley and inconsiderate champagne yeast I can make piss beer. He made a small batch insanely pretty much and summoned Arnaud with a telephone-like personal pinch of blue cannon powder. Also for tasty testing. Wow, this tastes like piss. I'd drink this, Arnaud. I would have cried gourmand wine tears. Rye tears. James was working, thinking about making a new stronger beer. James real knockout. Napoleon enters. Here's a bonus mate for making our quarterly prospecting go up 20%. It's a proper key. It's a pocket dimension. For your wine, I planted a meatball stalk and a giant nutritious 80% protein mushroom. I was going to buy a key into the dimension of sleek feminine, huge-breasted women. They're all interested in you and will buy you a drink, but they are all half monsters of different animals. Medusa farts turns people to stone as well. James opened and saw a huge, magical garden. Like a greenhouse, it was stuck to the ceiling with Pinot Noir grapevines, watermelons vertical on stalks growing or horizontal. A pocket sun in the pocket paradise was a little bit away from everything in the middle. The gravity pulled in his stomach like suggestive. Yellow and black carrots, black garlic, wizard's garlic, it was strong like a gnome biting your tongue. The place was circular in glass with a waterfall, nipple-pinching pink crabs and a 20-meter cliff, circulating with quail birds and eggs. Golden beet bushes, lemons, sour grapes, a mango tree, healthiest algae, inconsiderably more choking ivy, pomegranates, pineapple with an explosive taste, purple pineapple with the same antioxidants as blueberries. The antioxidant is the color, whiskey on a faucet.
New people.
Many different kinds of bananas grew. Some grew like a model's hair on the side over a sideways palm. It's so vegan, he said to the white mushroom. Around the waterfall there was a giant lily pad water garden. You could have a Swedish fika and cookie stall sitting on white marble chairs, design a table on the at least 1 meter lily pads. He invited Arnaud, Napoleon, Sabrina thus.
Like,
I welcome you to Lily Florence. The waterfall could be heard rumbling between them. I have before you Swedish vacuum cleaners. They're like princess cake rolled like cigars, delicacy shop explained. Chocolate balls with coffee flavor and lemon liquor, raw food balls, Swedish mead and some Italian whiskey I hamster bagged earlier. The vacuum cleaners were weird to the touch and spoke of sugar and things too sweet unless royalty, like a cough of syrup. The Walcher cabin was rectangular with the bottom corners being more narrow. Sabrina walked clumsily like she would set things on fire and Arnaud tested too, intentionally. This should hold for your thickest actions, Arnaud. What do you mean? He said confused. Look at that cute red flower, said Sabrina. I've been working on being a witch, making cauldron tea and fire-infused progress. Maybe hell can teach me for free if I pretend to work there. Abusing the state of free education, there's a technique to that, said Arnaud. Finally something I'm competent in. I graduated in practical tools, benefits 3 times. It took 2 months. It was 5, James said excited. I have also been trying to pull all the purple-green plant hybrids or monsters, the vegan golems you could say, out of the earth. Maybe you should train to become an albatross. That sounds like a good idea, said Arnaud. Who knows what he thought. Sabrina used a lily pad to climb the waterfall with magic, then hunted quail. She ate them with feathers and everything. Pay attention, Sabrina, I'm about to say something important. She turned her head like Patain, basically with a quail sticking out feet first in her mouth. They say what you drink is of essence in a Swedish fika. Let's drink whiskey then. Aye. This Swedish fika is very good. James thought to install some rabbits, 1 every 2 square meters, to extend his dimension concavely. They were tolerating each other's population like humans. They were golden in the paradise, peaceful and sentinels of nature's balance. He had installed a butter seal from winning at Surly Boots thus, and it had a baby seal. These seals are fine with humans, biting back as predators if necessary, bouncing through and on not having humans as predators. The baby seal was grey and white, curious like a fat cat, thus mother was concerned with what the unknown could do. James pushed the limits feeding and petting, showing them to the rabbits. James picked up some psychic, being up during the night reading as a genius night owl. Someone is ruining my precious stuff like hurting my loved ones. There was spies and pirates opening the vault of 1,000 doors into Napoleon capitalistic secrets. James in a sexy bathrobe uses martial arts and ass kicking. They're getting rounded up like turtles beaching in a small zoo. Don't beat me up, man. You're already dead. He pointed a finger. I'll spill the beans. Aristocrat Fitzgerald has taken an interest in you and wants you gone. He's going to beat me up more than you if he finds out we failed. He has conquered every enemy and embarrassed them like a torturer flays skin. You're next and he will have a plan and secrets you won't beat. Thanks for the cowardly heads up. He'll eat my weakest attack. James slapped him in the face. He went spinning, knocked out 4 times before hitting the ground. James had begun to find a cure for burnout, mixturing with potions. I must just find my stride. There is such potential in what increases attention span. What increases energy must cure burnout, mitochondria cells manufacturing. He tested them on pirate Turpentine Thomas, who had no sense when to stop. You're not a man productive unless you push over your limits. He went through and mixed every brain booster. It cured him of attention difficulties and bipolarity instead. He came up with a booster that made you not feel fatigued thus. James was browsing wares in pirate port rotten sneering slug Henry. It's time for you to get a proper giant two-handed sword like a German mercenary, a Flamberger or Zweihander, said Arnaud.
You know,
This is
they're
too
just
heavy.
streaming a game. They're not watching.
Technically, it's medium weight. People keep their distance, as long as you swing anyway.
It's like somebody's
Magically
watching.
get a shorter grip. There was a winged Flamberger, gem teal and artsy golden circles dotted amongst feathers and uneven detail. It was almost 2 meters. You will see that it speeds up smooth hitting several targets, and after killing one of my best swords truly, it glows teal and will block magical projectiles if you hit the blade.
Did that, right?
The other one you could look at is Ripsaw. We also have Parrot Annihilator on sale. You won't find an axe more trustworthy. What is a parrot except put into a cannon? There are the penniless corsairs, no doubt. Flying the black flag. Dollars and cents. There was a pirate with a wide face and tired eyes, sulking about his better times. He seemed a chapter behind, like too fat and too unchivalrous. Do you want to join the crew? What are you considering? What territories are you up to? His pals seemed focused on their creed, their status and tolerant. You seem to be chilling, good man. There is plunder on tactical enemies for mutual savagery. If you want to reconcile...
He's not streaming. His chat's extremely active with bots spamming insanity, but it's not live. Well, this is not very racist, chatbots. I mean, let's listen to this as long as we're playing 3 accounts. I don't know. Well, yes, I want to do some more farming. Guess I can do that. Yeah, I don't know what to do.
If you want to reconcile like a pirate, you need to drink like a pirate. Here's a stamp. Honest Jimmy's pirate bar crawl. Shoot a pistol in the air to agree. Kablam. It seemed like he had hit an eagle. James thought to pick Sabrina Arnaud and maybe Olivia on this. 11 destinations, Sigmund's near-lethal martini, said Arnaud like frightened, yet nervously ready. It's time to become double penniless thus. I don't know if I can do this, said Sabrina, concerned in her emotional world like not a contender. I love your company. We love your company, said Arnaud, starting a second after James. They made it to the Penniless Collective, Islands, where they met Cuban-speaking gentlemen in a bar made of bamboo and hay. Can I please have one of your off-the-menu drinks, mango rum cayenne strawberry? It's on the menu thus, this should be a cocktail anywhere, you wait and see. He didn't believe him. It's sweet but there's alcohol like a swing. Makes more sense than Canadian Caesar drink. It has vodka, clamato, hot sauce and Worcestershire sauce. I can pronounce that, Worcestershire. It's just Worcester actually, like Leicester is just Leicester. You can learn to say many things, languages with exceptions. Arnaud didn't believe James very much at first. They should just have the pronunciation on the bottle. They got the whole world saying Worcestershire. There's Welsh City Clanviabath Gwyngath Gigerethwyn Tasilio Gogogok, said English James thus. Who needs to pronounce anything like how they spell, said Sabrina. I am lightweight thus, I'm shaky. Rum makes me happy. You are muscular like a gym enthusiast. Muscle is not fat. You seem concerned with things out of place. I shall sign your card of bars. The second drink already spelled trouble. Are you kidding? It's Canadian Caesar. The party felt like fate stabbing too soon, improper. I don't want clam and tomato juice. Don't worry, it makes perfect sense, said the Canadian French barman, just try it. They downed the drink and thought about the ingredients like grenades. Yeah, it makes perfect sense, said Arnaud. I think I'm gonna throw up, said James. You're gonna throw up, said the barkeep. This was a strike, belligerent and dangerous, broken, omniscient. My body is telling me to stop here. There's the world spinning.
Let's do this. Yay, more shares, and then... whatever, this is stars level 2, let's go smithing. Can you get that brewing, chat? Look, I like this play. If you kill your opponent's queen, you have to use your queen. With its value shell. Let's make some content here. I'm gonna sacrifice my horse here. Unless he kills the horse now, but they never ever do that. It was... Now bro is playing chess. I guess someone's going to be upset if I play RuneScape music now at the same time. Why not? It's better, I should do it. Take it. This fucking opening. Checkmate if he takes this. If I get it over there.